Hello, we are live after it seems like the Kickstarter went live 3 years ago.
Right, but it was like what, 2 weeks?
It was exactly 2 weeks
Yeah.
ago, and it
2
seems
weeks
like
ago
it's 2 weeks to the day, and it seems like 10 years because since then, let's see, there's a lot. Personally, I've had a lot going on in my life. There's like a lot going on. Without getting into significant details, whoops, there goes my dogs. Without bringing everyone down, but I've had 4 major deaths in 3 months, and so it's been really rough. And then on top of that, we had GenCon, and then it's like, and then during GenCon, you got all this news, and then it's just a lot. It's been a lot. It's a lot. So I thought I'd bring it down this week, and let's just talk GenCon and just talk and. Not
greatest 4 days in gaming.
Just you know what?
Is it the best 4 days in gaming?
No, maybe you're. It's the best. It's the best. You're right.
Oh, okay.
Well, I went, but none of you guys have gone. It was fun, but the problem is, it's funny. I was just talking to everyone on Discord. I was saying, "How's your GenCon? Your GenCon?" We all said the same thing. It's like it needs to be longer because just as you get into it, like it takes you a few days to get into the swing of things, and then by Saturday I was like into it, and then it ends. And then it ends.
Yeah, it's so I've gone to Gen Con for 20 straight years. This was actually I didn't obviously go in 2020 because they canceled it. 2021 when it was the reduced Gen Con, we decided not to go just because of still some concerns. And then this year we were all ready to go, but like we said, we didn't want to pay the outrageous prices for a hotel and head down there. But I got to be honest with you. So the last time I was there in person was 2019, and I think the attendance was like 70,000 that year.
It was,
and it was way too much.
Yeah.
So
it was packed like sardines.
That was the pinnacle. I
know that was the high water mark, and I remember thinking to myself, this has gotten a little bit out of control. They got to do something. And so I'm assuming that the attendance this year was not that high.
No, I actually thought because all the hotels sold out, I thought it was going to be insane. It was nice. It was 50,000, but it actually, first of all,
did they just get smaller blocks?
They
did. The hotels didn't.
It's my understanding that they didn't block as many rooms because they didn't want to get screwed over because of a sudden shift in policy or infection rates or anything like that.
Yeah. So what ended up happening, and by the way, Derik, next time you want to go, my friend from Ohio, John Statz, who was there as well, he got a hotel room for $50 a night.
Well, John Statz is a smart man, and I am not. So
okay, so I mean, he just got him too, and he
was it like 20 miles from?
Yeah, he had a car though. Yeah, it was. I mean, it was half an hour away, but he had a car.
Gotcha.
So
well. All right, I'm a little bit of a snob and a little bit of an elitist, and I really like to just be downtown.
Oh, well, yeah. I mean, I got my hotel. I was down the street, and it was like $200 a night. Wasn't that bad?
No, don't get me wrong. I'm fully prepared to pay $250, $300 a night. But I like to stay at the Hyatt or the Omni.
That's
or
right.
the Conrad, Hilton Conrad.
I was right next to the Conrad. I actually was down the street, and I was at the. Where was I? I had my card. I just threw it away. The Hilton.
But if you were out of the block, you were paying 400 something.
Oh yeah.
Be in there.
It wasn't that bad though.
Out of the block, those sold out real quick.
Yeah.
Like as soon as people couldn't get their room for the lotto.
There was a lot of cancellations though this year. There was a lot.
Well, we made the call, and so then I bought tickets to Vegas.
I'm one of the cancellations.
You were one of them.
But I had my badge and everything. I was ready to go. But
I had my badge, but then BA5 came and it was a big thing.
It was fine. Oh, we got 40 people. Wow, we got a lot of people. Hey everyone. So again, if you want to ask questions, I went to Gen Con. I'd be happy to talk to you and answer any of your questions. Derik did not. Mark did not. So
I thought Derik had, but when it was like Derik's coming to talk about Gen Con, I was like, oh yeah, because a lot of other
but Derik has strong opinions on everything. And I saw all the little rants, so I'm like, how can you go wrong without Derik here? In fact,
that is true.
Derik came up in many a conversation at the Paizo booth with the Paizos.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Oh, really?
Yes. They were all like saying how you really like your gaming powerful. I think that was the word we were using.
Powerful. Okay, that's an interesting way to describe it.
So you mean like a power gamer?
I didn't say that. I
That
might have
sounds like what
implied
you're
that.
saying.
I
You
was
literally said likes gaming powerful.
He does.
That sounds like
he does. He
sounds
likes
like power gamer.
He likes
That
it.
that is an interesting way to describe it. I think I enjoy. I don't think you should have to pay a premium for flavor. I'll say that.
Okay.
That's how I will say it.
So
I do.
Everyone knew who you were. Everyone's like, Derik.
Yes. Well, I am, as you said before, sometimes kind of controversial and at least very opinionated in what I say.
No.
Yeah. Well, hey, but that means if I do like something, you should pay attention.
Oh, okay. I am. I'm paying attention. So, no, GenCon was good. It wasn't that crowded. It wasn't that bad.
Yeah.
It was a weird one.
Yeah, well, let's start. Like, what was the dealer hall like? Because I know that one of the reasons we didn't go in 2021 was because everybody pulled out. Paizo pulled out. Fantasy Flight pulled out. Everybody pulled out.
Last year was a ghost town.
Yeah,
last year was a total ghost town.
So how was it this year?
Well, I'll put it this way. I'll do exactly what you said. 2019 was the pinnacle. That was the apex. The level 25 of GenCon, it feels like. It was like,
for better and for worse.
Oh, it was too much. It was insane. We had
the Tarrasque of GenCon.
It was the craziest. That was, and I won't get into it, but that was the craziest GenCon I've ever been to by far, for every way, including the parties, because the parties were, I have some very not family friendly stories that I can say one day, but it was nuts.
It was wilder, not just for being 50% more people, but just
that was a crazy GenCon. And then it died.
Yes, of course.
It died in 2020. Now it's been resurrected. Not true resurrection, but it was resurrected. It's definitely a lot weaker than it used to be.
Was it a reincarnation?
It was a reincarnation. I don't even think it was resurrection. I think it was reincarnation, because last year it was a shadow of itself. It was still fun. I actually had a really good time last year because no one was there, but this dealer hall was definitely like, it was all right. So the main thing about the dealer hall this year is that everyone's booths were so much smaller. Paizo had a smaller booth. Everyone had smaller booths. Not everyone, but a lot of people did. And
interesting.
I was talking
no
to
one wanted to commit to the square footage?
No. From what I understood, and I talked to a couple of people, it was a combination that you had to use it or lose it. So if you didn't use your booth,
gotcha,
you lost it. So everyone kept it. I don't know if the prices went up, maybe they did. But the big issue is that they had to bring staff. And in the old days, they would just pack all the staff together. Like 2 or 3 or 4 people sharing a room. And now they had to put everyone in their own rooms for COVID. So they literally just couldn't bring as many staff. It just became much harder. So they had smaller booths and less people. And in fact, this was the saddest thing, is that the Sagamore. So every year, and I've been going to GenCon like 15, 16 years, the Sagamore has been and that's the big hall that's like the size of a football stadium.
That's the heart of organized play.
That's the heart of organized play. In the old days, it used to be D&D.
All D&D, all RPGA.
D&D. Yeah,
all
RPG. It was awesome.
In fact, I have many memories of playing RPGA games up in the Sagamore 500.
Yeah, it was awesome. And then it was Pathfinder and Starfinder.
Yep.
And this year I walked in and it was half the size. They cut it in half.
Wow.
And it was sad. It was a sad thing. And
what was in the other half?
They had some. They had some like VR spaceship combat thing in one of them, and
last year was only partial too, right? Though, because it was GenCon.
Yeah, but last year they were.
Last year they didn't have any. I don't even.
There was none.
No, there was sense. None. There was no Sagamore. It wasn't even open.
Do you want me to go on a rant real quick?
Sure.
Okay, so here is my problem, as you just described that. Okay, GenCon had this problem a while ago, and then they fixed it. And now it sounds like they're having this problem again. And the problem is, there was a time where GenCon moved to Indianapolis. Suddenly they had this thing. They were getting year-over-year growth, double-digit percentage, and everything was really great. And then all of a sudden, GenCon tried to be E3, and they tried to be PAX, and they tried to be Comic-Con, and they tried to put in all these video game people in there.
Yeah.
I remember there was all sorts of video game booths people.
There was
like
no video game booths this
right,
time.
and then they brought in all the celebrities.
Yep.
I remember they had all the people like John Rhys Davies and Sean Astin and Will Wheaton and these big autograph lines.
That's all
none of it.
Too, by the way.
None of it had to do with gaming.
Right.
And the people responded and they said, we don't like this. We want more games. And Gen Con did the right thing. But then when I started to notice around 2015, 2016, is this massive boost in attendance, which culminated in 2019 at the 70,000. And what I saw was there was a lot of what I'm going to call non-gamers at Gen Con, gamer adjacent folks. And they started putting in more and more events for them rather than, say, more board game slots, more bigger board game library, more RPG events, more whatever. And it seems to me like Gen Con had started to move towards more of a mainstream kind of just family fun event. I don't know how to describe it, but I definitely noticed that if you look through the event book, attendance had doubled or tripled, but the number of gaming events had not doubled or tripled. But instead, there was a lot more events, that were catered to what I would say non-gaming or gaming adjacent. And I did not like that.
Well, I know for a fact what happened is, because I was talking to everyone, is that they had to make Sagamore smaller because they couldn't get as many GMs. So it's a catch-22 when you don't have as many people attending, you can't run as many events. So because you need people to run the events. So it's all tied together. That it's like you can only make the games as big as you have people to run the games, if that makes sense.
Yes, but at the same time, like, I don't know, they need to figure out a way to incentivize, I don't know, people to run events more than, or bigger games. I mean, I don't know.
Well, it was just that people didn't want to come. There was a lot of people who look, you didn't go. You said you didn't go.
I tried to go, but I wasn't going to stay 40 minutes outside of town.
Okay, well, there you go. But I think there's a lot of people like you, and then Mark didn't go, and I mean, because of COVID concerns. So I think it was a combination that.
And to be fair, back in the day, I used to pay. We as a group would pay. I don't even remember, $600.
Yeah, I'm actually paying a lot less for my hotel room this year
for a VIG badge.
Oh, right, yeah,
right. So we used to get a VIG badge because that guaranteed you a room in the VIG block. They got rid of that room. They got rid of that block because people thought that it was kind of pay to win. And that everybody should just be in the same lot.
I think it was fine. I think it still was don't get me wrong. This was an excellent event. And in fact, having 50,000 was nice because it wasn't too crowded. I was walking around. I was like, this is great.
50K is fine. Listen, I like Gen Con to be big because, I mean, to put it into another perspective, right? If there are 20,000 people or 30,000 people or 50,000 people or 70,000 people at Gen Con, there's still one Paizo booth. There's still one Jason Bullman, right? No matter how many people there are, there's still one Fantasy Flight Games booth, So that is inherently, the more people that go, the less you are going to get, the less access you're going to get.
It was a good mix, but it definitely felt different. Everything was different this year. So. For better or for worse.
So then the other question, now I went to Origins.
Yeah, I've never been.
And Origins is a much smaller con, and it was always a much smaller con. And then this year, because of COVID and stuff, it was even smaller than still. But my takeaway though was it was the Indie Press Revolution booth selling all the stuff that Indie Press Revolution sells, which is basically all the Indie Press games, all the ones that just won Ennies, and then everything else was 5e in the entire hall.
No, there was a good mix. I saw your thing on that. There was tons of mix. There was 5e. There was a lot of new games and a lot of things. There was definitely a good mix. I mean, for myself, Tay had a gigantic booth. Is Goodman Games and their DCC line. Oh my God, that line. I mean. He has over 100 adventures for DCC alone. I mean, they probably had 250 books on sale at that booth. It was gargantuan. So that was.
Have you played DCC?
Yes, I have. I used to run the DCC tournament for Goodman Games.
Interesting.
For years. So, I mean, he's a smart guy. The guy who runs
his name?
DCC.
Bill Goodman.
Joseph Goodman.
Joseph Goodman. Yeah.
So, I mean, he's a smart guy, and he has a very interesting niche. DCC is very grindy and very hardcore, but it's fun. It is.
It's very fantasy Vietnam, right? It's very the fun, the funnel and everything like that.
Yeah. They do. But he sort of what happened is because he was very big in the 3.5, and I loved his modules. I had like every single one, and I ran all of them. And then when 4.0 came about, and 4.0 basically kind of killed them in a way because they couldn't do.
Did you ever run
so they ran their own.
Did you ever run, what was it called? The Hall of Dragon Kings, the tournament module?
Yeah. I ran those modules.
Oh, that's awesome.
Well, not only that, you guess who made the NPCs for those modules? Sorry, the player characters.
Was
it was me. Steven? How did you guess that? Yes, I'm the one who made them. Look in there. There's actually I look under the judges. I was in there. It's some of those.
By the way, there was a good thing in the chat from Cheese of Ages. I'm looking for it. I got it here somewhere.
Yeah, no, it was awesome. It was that was fun. I have really fun stories from running. Not only that, because it was tournament DCC, and I would run the later sessions. I would run like the round 2s and round 3s. I learned like how to be a really good player because I got to see like what pro players would do, and they were very good. The guys at those top levels.
I can't see it.
It was really interesting.
It easily, but yeah, that's cool. I mean, again, I've had incredible Gen Con experiences, and obviously, I plan to head back to it at some point. I just hope that it doesn't lose.
I think everything, it's just everything has changed, man. It's like
I know
everything has changed.
It's not gonna stay the same no matter what. Like I don't think the fact that the bigger rooms were divided is really based on the fact that it's widening up to gamer adjacent people to come to Gen Con. I think it's just all about the money politics of the space.
No, I agree. Like I'll give you a great example. I remember this many years ago. I still remember the first time I saw the booth. Wormwood's a great example of this.
Their booth,
right?
By the way, was insane.
Of course it was.
Like, I don't know how they have money to make the booth like that. It's all wood. It's insane.
Yeah, they had the same booth at Origins. But like, here's the thing. Like, it's obviously I'm a woodworker, for God's sake. I make furniture. I make gaming tables. In fact, some lucky member of our Patreon this year is going to win a free custom-made gaming table, but in any shape or size of any wood they want, hardwood, delivered in the continental United States by me and the Knights, and we're going to assemble it, and then we're going to game on it. Anyways,
Wormwood. I want Wormwood.
Okay. So, my tables are better than Wormwood. Maybe not the Prophecy. The Prophecy is pretty cool. It's got the hand crank. That's a little tricky, but the modular game table, it's designed for mass market. Anyways, point is, that is a big booth, and that's something that people love to, whatever. But is it really gaming? It's and again, I like Wormwood. I watch Worm Life. I make gaming tables.
Not actually.
But it's not actually gaming.
No, it's
right?
not. I actually know that.
And there's only so much money that someone who is, and you should be aware of this, there's only so much money that someone who's into gaming is going to spend in a given calendar year.
Correct.
And if $2,500 of that goes to a new Wormwood table,
correct,
that's a lot less money for, say, RPG books.
No, I mean,
this
agree.
is already a huge thing because people are willing to spend like 4 times as much money on a set of dice that is really nice looking than on like the actual core book of the game that they're going to play for the next decade.
100%, Mark.
Yeah, and that's something else.
And I've gotten shit in my channel notes when I said these books are too cheap. We should be paying $100.
Well,
easy.
I got good news. For you. Okay, Derik, because a few things are going to happen. First of all, everyone if we get 50 likes, we're going to make Derik talk in a Kermit voice because he's really good at it.
But that's like the same thing you made him do last time.
He's so good at it. Or we'll make him talk in a new voice. He's really good at voices.
We do all right.
Derik's really good at voices. I'm giving Derik an A+. We'll give him something funny to do then. Or we'll give him something else. We'll figure it out. But Derik...
I think we have to give Derik a a C- because his vocal impression is an A or A+ level, but being able to throw your voice or change it to sound like Kermit is not useful enough for a first or second level spell. It's a flavor tax.
All right,
so I'm going to lower it down to a C-
well,
for that reason.
Get some likes in there. We have more than 50 people, so we could easily get 50 likes.
That was a very good. I applaud that review. That was right.
So
that was right on point.
This is something like, so in our Kickstarter, I purposely, now, yes, we added plushies, but keep in mind, and this was interesting, I was talking to a lot of people, is that a big market right now, because we're up to the third, or maybe even sometimes the fourth generation of people into role-playing. Think about it. Because if you think about how many generations have been, so now a lot of people are having kids, and they're trying to get their kids into role playing, and this is actually a big market.
It's got to be the fourth, right?
It's the fourth generation.
Played, and then millennials and Gen X, millennials, and Gen Z. So it's the fourth. I can
do a whole thing on this, and I'm not going to, but it's widely supported, and there's a reason why. Very long story short, WotC has been changing their books, if you noticed, and they're becoming more family friendly. If you noticed their last adventure, they heavily advertised that you could finish the whole thing without combat. I won't get into it, but this is turning into a thing, and I'm not the only one who's noticed it. There's plushies, but we're trying to add it so it's not just a plushie, but it can be used as a game tool. It can be used as a way to get your kids into the gaming. It's not just like, oh, that's a cool, plushie of a gelatinous cube, which is fun. I have a gelatinous cube plushie, but we're trying to make them so that you can use them. And then even for our minis, by the way, which came in, and I'll show everyone them.
Oh, let me see.
Ooh, they're falling. Oh, look at them.
I can see the.
Oh wait, they're backwards.
Cool. The cauldron sticking out of its cauldron.
There we go. You can see. See all the minis. They came out really nice, by the way. But anyhow,
that's a lot of detail too. I can tell, even though it's kind of blurry.
It's a little blurry, but the thing is, like, the minis, even like Mark and I were sitting down and we talked about what minis to use, and we made them the battle minis so you can use them in your game, in your role-playing game, in the card game, in every way possible. Like, we tried to make it that you got as much value as possible. I'm not trying to put out anything that's like, oh, here's a cool, I don't know, card, or I can't think of anything off the top of my head. Like, we did add a little bit of dice because everyone seems to want dice.
Yeah, but they're neat, and they're not super expensive, right?
Yeah, I didn't go crazy with the dice.
I
didn't go crazy. I didn't make $70 dice.
The dice set are $50 for 5 nice dice sets.
Yeah, they're nice.
And
they mostly
just appear free in the higher level tiers.
Yeah, I mean, like, right? You didn't go full. What was it called? Pixels. Where it was $50 per die.
Yeah, right. Exactly. But the point is that I'm trying to give value with the stuff, and then but that is a good point, because those people like Wormwood and others, they actually set up their booths and treat it like a jewelry store, and they try to sell you like you would. Jewelry.
It's a boutique. And like and they even say, like, they go, you're not buying, oh please, you're not buying anything today, you're putting a down payment. It's just a down payment to get your name on the list. We're not asking you to spend $5,000 today. We're asking you to put in $500 today to get your name on a list, and then you have a while to save for the eventual big table purchase, because it's gonna take us a year to make it. And again, I make wooden furniture, handmade. I love it. I love boutique things. I get it.
Keep in mind, if you're gonna have to buy furniture anyhow, you might as well buy gaming furniture. So.
Well, I mean, there's that to be said. I mean, I will say this in full disclosure: the standard vault table, I don't think it's very good for role playing games, because the typical rail, that little ledge that you have, is probably usually only 4 or 5 inches deep.
Yeah, I will say, I think the world of playing in person is unfortunately also coming not to an end, but it's definitely it's going to be a rarity. Yes. And this was something else we were talking a lot about at GenCon with. So most of my time, by the way, was spent talking to other publishers, other developers, that was probably most of my time was literally talking to other people in the industry, trading books, literally. Like I would say, here's my book, give me yours, and we would literally trade each other's books, which was fun.
That actually is pretty sweet.
That was awesome. It was pretty sweet. That was sweet because they were like, there, like, and
like it's like old Magic the Gathering, you know? Yeah, like swapping books.
Well, like Hit Point Press, I'm very friendly with, and they're very nice. And so I was like, here's a new Battles of Mystery, and they gave me their brand new Dark Matter book. And I was like, nice. We literally would swap books with each other the whole game. That's all I did.
That's something that's always sort of happened at GenCon with publishers, and even like you would see it at certain times when the hall is only open to the publishers. Like a publisher who wanted the new thing from you or from Paizo might come over and bring their thing and be like, hey, can we trade one of the things that you have there for?
I wouldn't even ask. I would just say, hey, here's my new thing, and they'd just run over and get theirs. And it was almost like assumed that we would trade each other's books, so it was fun. Wait, what was I saying? I was talking about, and I was saying the big thing with playing online now is because everyone's getting older, and just the way the world is working. Like, I am from New York City, and New York City was like, if you were in publishing, and my wife was in publishing, she worked for from Hearst, and you lived in New York, like that's where you had to be.
Right.
And a few years ago, they actually built that Hearst building, and the entire building was filled with just Hearst employees. And then they realized, you know what? We can make more money. And my wife, this is crazy. She was the very first employee ever in Hearst to work at home, ever. And this is a big company. She was the pilot program for it when she had her second child. And so she worked at home like 3 days a week. And it worked out so well that what they did is that they got rid of half of the departments and then rented out the building because they make more money renting it than they do putting their own people in it.
That makes sense. And real estate is just going up and up and up.
And now they realized, hey, you know what? We don't even need you guys in New York. So they moved everyone from publishing to North Carolina and Florida.
Well, it's kind of crazy, but we have a lot of folks on our Discord, which is part of our Patreon, and we have all these community games that we play. And we have a lot of people who have never played role-playing games in person.
Yeah. I believe it because and
they were introduced to the hobby maybe during the pandemic. The last couple of years, it was all VTT. Whether it was Roll20 or Foundry or whatever, what have you, and they've never played in person.
Yep.
So something like GenCon is almost.
Oh yeah, GenCon was great because of that. It was like the first time I got to play in person with some of my friends.
Yeah,
for 3 years.
that's where I used to cut my teeth. On playing with strangers and being introduced to new games, and yeah, it's kind of crazy.
But now
you definitely learn a lot about play styles because at Gen Con, if you play broadly enough, you're likely to find some of the best GMs that you've seen anywhere and some of the worst GMs that you've seen anywhere. And you learn maybe more from the second than the first, but you learn a lot from both.
There's the turtle for you.
It's Twirtle.
Look at that. That's for you.
You're absolutely right about that, Mark. Because
so
when you're playing with your, the standard default model was you played with your group, and it became kind of an echo chamber. You all like the same things, you play the same type of games, and then you go to Gen Con and you sit down with people who are very different.
Oh God, yeah.
In the way that they play, and maybe you take something away from that, either like, hey, I'd like to incorporate this, or something I would like to maybe make sure I don't do because that was a horrible experience for me.
I'm actually bad because what ends up happening is that I end up playing, and then I'm like teaching the rules to the GMs, like, oh yeah, you're doing that wrong, you're doing this wrong, you're doing that wrong, and then all my other players, well, it's not just me, it's my other players too, because we all play together, and we're like, oh yeah, we're all like, poor GM, like, you don't want to play. I stopped doing that. I don't play it anymore because it's too depressing. But
weirdly, the worst GM that I ran into at Gen Con, it was many years back, was at an Iron Player tournament where the GMs were also. We also had several very good GMs. But we had one who was bad, and the GMs were also competing. It was not the Iron GM tournament, but they were also competing at the Iron Player tournament to see how well they were as GMs. And most of the GMs were great, but one of them was just like they forced us to do PvP during it, which was a little weird. It was mostly not PvP, but then was like cheating on the PvP for one of the teams and just not even remotely following the rules. And it was not great. And it led to a meme in our group where we just say, your argument is invalid. I have multi-attack, because the GM cheated. And then it did like this thing where they were just like making a full attack and then taking a bunch of other actions that they couldn't do at the same time. And then we're like, wait, you can't do that because, and he's like, well, your argument is invalid. I have multi-attack, which, as you may know, gives you a -2 penalty for different attacks instead of a -5 in Pathfinder First Edition.
Multi-attack was a hell of an ability, though. You got to admit.
It's good, but it certainly doesn't let you break the action economy of the game.
So real quick, first of all, if you have any questions, ask them. I can't believe no questions have been asked. And super chats are always answered first. And do subscribe. If you subscribe, your name pops up for everyone to see. So it's really cool. And don't forget, do pledge now. I forgot. I haven't even mentioned Kickstarter, rollforcombat.com. It's live now. Yeah. And if you have any questions, even about the Kickstarter,
I got a party trick for you for pledging.
Can do that too.
Our site is so personalized to you. You could just put in your first name, your last name, .rollforcombat.com, and we'll also go to the Kickstarter. Like I shocked Linda at one point where I was like, watch this, Linda, put Linda .rollforcombat.com. She's like, what went to the Kickstarter? Who put that in there? Did you do it? Did Steven do it? I was like, no, Linda, they all go to the Kickstarter. If you put gibberish, it goes to the Kickstarter.
And I forgot to mention, if you look at the, I changed up the pictures. So now, Derik, you are surrounded by ancestries, monstrous ancestries instead of Eldamon.
It looks like Derik has a slime and a Steno.
Look at that.
I will say this. I hate all things.
Yes, we know.
But
yes.
All right, that mimic kind of slaps. Like that's pretty good. That's actually pretty good.
Hey,
you know what I like? You know what I actually kind of think like a mimic should be like freaking like the T-1000, man.
It is.
Just I know. That's what I'm saying.
It's going to be.
I know.
That's what you're going to be.
You think about it, you're like, well, that's actually really great.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know. It's interesting, you know. I mean, GenCon was obviously spiking in popularity because I think originally people were bringing in their families. And in fact, in what I think is one of the most horribly named things ever, because it's just so dismissive. GenCon started adding these things they called spa events to GenCon.
Oh yeah, I remember.
Which was
is it the ones where you like go and you like get a massage in the halls at GenCon?
No. The name, everything about it is derogatory because it stands for spouse partner activities.
Oof.
And it was all like crafting stuff and knitting.
They still have all that. It's just not called that.
But to call it that was pretty,
pretty
basically it was very sexist. It was the idea of like, here's something for your wife to go do while you're at gaming convention. But they've added more and more things like that. They don't call them spa events, I don't think anymore. But it is interesting though, because GenCon I think was growing because of people embracing the lifestyle. Now you had families that were raised on gaming, right? Like you mentioned, but now you have just the growth of gaming in general, right? We've got, I haven't talked to you guys since the D&D movie trailer dropped, you know, and
it's excellent, by the way. You're the only one who hates it.
I know. And I don't like it.
The monster, it is, this is what we said.
Did you see me actively make fun of it?
Yeah, because I'm the one who asked you about it. I'm the one who asked you.
You did.
Yeah, I'm the one who brought that up.
That's right. We were at the end of like a 3 hour stream.
And then I popped in and I said,
and I was
hey, did you see it? And then you went off.
And I was about to close out.
I got
and then Steven goes, did you see it? And I go, okay, fine. I was like, oh, watch it. And then suddenly that added another 45 minutes.
This is, now I'm older than you guys. I'm older. We'll leave it at that. I grew up. I'm older than D&D. That's the easiest way to say it.
Fair enough.
And me and my friends, we all looked at the trailer and we all said the same thing. We said, we grew up where if you were a geek or into fantasy, I mean, you were bullied, man. Like, people don't remember that about the 80s. But if you watch any of those movies, like, bullying was a big deal. Like, it was it was a major issue when I was growing up. And I don't mean like, oh, you know, like bullying, like people like literally getting into fights and beating the crap out of you. Like it was bad. I got into more than one fight in my life in school, and it was pretty bad. And like if you were like considered a geek or an outsider or that, it was like you were just like weird. And
did you win the fights due to your background in martial arts?
Yes, that's why I also have 3 black belts and I work out all the time.
I know you have 3 black belts. That's why
part
I wanted
of it,
to
yes.
know whether you won the fight or not.
I like to think, I'm just trying to imagine a young Steven being like, critical hit.
You know what? No, actually, the last time I almost got into a fight it was a very easy one. It was that I said, oh man, it was in college and someone was like bullying me around and I was like, and again, it's the 80s. And I was saying, and I said, and he was like about to start something. So let me ask you something. I said, how often are you in a fight? And he goes, what? And I'm like, how often are you in a fight? And I'm like, let me put it this way. I fight for fun 3 to 5 days a week. So I'm in about 30 to 50 fights a week. And I've been doing this for 10 years. So I've been in like maybe what, I don't know, we'll say 5,000, 10,000 fights. And I've had my fingers broken. I've gotten my nose broken. I've gotten my knees broken. And I do this for fun. So let me ask you, do you really think you're going to win? Like, do you really think you are?
No, I mean, I get where you're going with this, right? The idea that a D&D movie, you know, Game of Thrones. I mean, this is nothing new, right?
Right. The point is that when I was a kid, we were like, there was nothing. There was nothing like a D&D movie. We were happy to have the D&D cartoon. We were happy to have Willow and watch it 5,000 times.
Did you like the first D&D movie though?
God, no.
Yeah, no one did.
No one did. It was terrible. But the point is that
your argument could be made towards the first one. Although I actually agree that the new trailer seems like it could be cool.
Can I ask a question?
It's Guardians of the Galaxy and fantasy.
Okay, it is Marvel. It is Guardians of the Galaxy.
Oh, I guarantee it is.
And it's got that same kind of like, we're so cool, but we're also so hyper proficient, but we don't take anything seriously. Everything's kind of a joke, right? Like it's this very It's this very Vox Machina, Guardians of the Galaxy style.
Yes.
And, you know, and I know the biggest question for me is the first frickin' D&D movie, which was horrible.
Yeah, but I'm going to tell you something.
Was about a bunch of thieves. Yep. Why would they do that again for the second movie?
Okay, I have all these answers for you. I can answer every one of these questions.
Break it down.
No, it's actually easy. First of all, my brother is in Hollywood.
Right, the award-winning screenwriter, right?
No,
he's
costume designer. He was just nominated for an Emmy.
Right. That's what I said.
Break it to you.
I said award-winning, but I meant costume designer. Sorry.
Yeah, no, he is. He's in the Academy. He was nominated for an Emmy, which he might win, by the way. And an Emmy, think about that for TV. Do you know how hard that is? There's like 5 people nominated. You know how much TV there is? Seriously, look up Danny Glicker. He's doing really well. You are only if you okay a movie. And if that movie bombs, your career's over. So the only way you can get a movie okayed is that if it hits everything. Right. And in this case, it literally saw that. I'm like, Guardians of the Galaxy. And I can argue Guardians of the Galaxy is fantasy. It's science fiction. It's science fiction fantasy. It's Starfinder.
It is Starfinder.
It is. It is totally Starfinder. And this is fantasy. And you are not the target audience.
No.
You're correct. That is what's important. The people that are target audience are everyone else. And everyone else looked at that and they said, that actually looks awesome. And they're going to go see it. They don't care about you, Derik. They don't.
But before they ruined it, of course, Game of Thrones was very much for my stylings.
Correct.
And it became a cultural phenomenon.
They did not know that took everyone by surprise.
Well, I'm just saying it can pay off. It can pay off too.
But think of how many times they've done Game of Thrones and things like that. And this has been incremental. This has been a thing that's been going on for years.
I mean, you have to make some things that are for different kinds of people, and then you sometimes strike. You catch lightning in a bottle.
Yeah, I mean this. And the reason they do thieves is because it's the most relatable item. Okay, if you say wizard, people are going to think Harry Potter when they don't want that, because there's a lot of reasons why you don't want that right now. Fighters are fighters, so everyone knows what a thief is.
Tell that to the Strixhaven book, anyway.
Yeah, but if they said Strixhaven Academy of Magic, or that was like the name of the movie, then it has a proper noun in it.
Yeah, but the thing is,
you
everyone
don't
knows
want to put a proper noun in it.
First of all, everyone knows what a thief is, and second of all, it's going to be a heist movie, which Guardians of the Galaxy was, by the way, which almost every single successful movie is. Think about it. It's like, oh, the Ocean's movie. Like, they're all freaking heist movies. Every single movie is a heist movie.
I was with you for a while, but
we don't even have.
It is a heist movie.
We don't even have thieves in D&D anymore.
Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter.
Steven, you've lost me when you said that every successful movie is a heist movie. I would say that
think about it.
Not that high of a percentage of successful movies are heist movies.
A lot of them are. Star Wars, heist movie. Empire, heist movie.
All right.
No, there's always a heist aspect to it. There always is. Okay, I'm not gonna. You're also taking me as literal as possible,
right,
but there is a lot of No, there are a lot of heist aspects in these movies.
So you're like, yeah, Schindler's List, heist movie.
There is. They're trying to get the people out. They're heist.
Yeah, I know. I picked one that you could say that there's a heist.
No, keep going. I can name it. I can name it.
Actually, kind of
no, it does work. No, because think about it. Every single thing, there's always, because the conflict is usually trying to get something or someone or get in somewhere, which can be translated to a heist. Okay.
All right. Outside of
I mean, now we're talking like script writing 101. This is a whole other level topic, but
because remember, I got to go in like 15 minutes. So I know that the title card talked about D&D, and I will be the first to admit I do not keep my finger on the pulse of the Dungeons and Dragons game. Obviously, I'm very well aware that we have T-2 years to GenCon 2024, where it's going to be the big 5-0. But is D&D doing anything?
Nope.
They
didn't do anything. In fact, D&D went from, they used to run Gen Con.
The castle
they were in
was
charge
awesome.
of it. The castle was there, and they used to have a presence to, they weren't even there. No one was there.
Did I ever tell you my D&D story? The first convention I ever went to?
Probably not.
Okay, the first convention I ever went to was Origins 2000. Okay, so Gen Con was about to happen in 3 months in Milwaukee. I didn't go to that one. I didn't go to Gen Con until 2001. That was my first Gen Con in Milwaukee. But Gen Con 2000 is when 3rd edition D&D came out. But we went to Origins because there was only 2. We had just graduated high school, my friend and I, Smith. And we drive down there and we go to Origins. It's our first time. We're only there for the weekend. And we go into the hall, and in the middle of it is the big, Wizards of the Coast TSR castle. And in the center of it, on a pedestal, there was a glass or plastic acrylic box, a sealed 2 foot by 2 foot cube locked onto this pedestal, which had like a sort of a fluted exterior. And on the sides of the box were 2 fist-size holes. And inside, on a silk cushion, was a copy of the 3rd edition Player's Handbook. And it was the print copy. And you could put your hands in and flip through the book, and you could obviously take it out because your hands you couldn't fit. And I'll be honest with you, it was like this incredibly magical moment for me. I got to, when I first went to Gen Con, I got to meet Gary Gygax. A couple years later, I got to meet Dave Arneson before he died.
Mm-hmm.
And convention gaming, it's just being at a convention is something that's so unique and so powerful for I guess maybe it's not as much of a thing anymore, because for me it was like, wow, all these people know what D&D is. Right. And that was a new thing for me. Whereas nowadays, maybe everybody does know what D&D is.
No, it's still good. Trust me. Cause I just got home yesterday because my flight was canceled. So I had to stay an extra day.
Nice.
But someone posted something on Twitter that said, a lot of you are going to feel depressed today that you're back at your job, back in the real world, but like you're still someone special, and we all love you. And I was looking at that, I'm like, yeah, because it was so nice to be there, and we're just gaming and talking and then sure enough, first thing I come in, my kids are fighting, and I'm like, oh, Oh well. It can't last. Nothing lasts forever. But yeah, it's still special. It's different. And you know what? Life is going to change. Life is always going to change. That's just the way it is. I mean, it's unfortunate. It's like people always think about nostalgia because you think of it one way and now it's different. But you know what? You might also think in 20 years what it was like now. You know, I think about some of the Gen Cons I went to even just 4 or 5 years ago. And those are some of the craziest, most fun I've had in a long time, you know. The first,
for me, the biggest change for me in the trajectory of my career, my hobby, my passion was going to Gen Con year after year after year, RPGA, third edition, and then discovering indie games on demand. And the indie games on demand area, and me at the time, no name nobodies like Jason Morningstar and John Harper, who were running their early alpha quasi that they developed on the Forge of games like Blades in the Dark and Apocalypse World and Saga of the Icelanders and all that other stuff, and being introduced to we had played some non D&D games back in the 90s like Earth Dawn and stuff like that, but those were all still fundamentally these very D&D-esque games. And so Gen Con opened my eyes, and without Gen Con, I don't think I would have ever kind of gone onto the gaming trajectory that I ended up going onto. So
by the way, before you go, was your meeting canceled or do you have to go?
No, I do have to go.
Oh, that sucks. Well, we'll just black you out and I don't have like a 2-person thing. So we had a question. How would you explain Eldamon products to those who don't like Pokemon and their TTRPGs, Mark? Because right now we have Eldamon, but Eldamon is not just pets and fun things. That's an aspect of it. It is a fun aspect, but it is not the only thing.
I would say this. If they literally despise Pokemon and monster training, then they probably do not want Eldamon, the actual capturing and befriending Eldamon and sort of collecting them to be a component in their game. Even though there are differences, Steven is right. There are some significant differences. But for most of the people who are just viscerally, no, I don't like it, that's not what they're looking for. However, what you also get with this book, and like we were talking about before, books in our hobby are really not that expensive for the amount of stuff that's in them. But what you also get is at least 11, depending on stretch goals, possibly more, elements that are full of different cool special abilities, and then an elemental avatar class that is going to be able to use those elements, and you don't have to collect Eldamon or even include them. And so I would say that person just hey, do you want to play with the option to have a character that uses fire, water, earth, air, wood, ice, lightning, force, life, death, and light, and possibly more? Then you should get it and just ignore the parts that are the Eldamon if you don't like them.
Yep. I would just say that there's a lot to it. I mean, the Eldamon is part of it, but if you just want to have basically an elemental avatar that can cast really cool, weird elemental powers, then you can use that as well. And we're trying to make Derik do something silly. Oh my God, we're almost out of time. We have 42 likes. We need 50 likes. Come on, we have a ton of people.
Sorry, I'm not going to be able to do it.
Well, if you hurry up, you got to get those likes. We need more likes. But yeah, do check out the Kickstarter at anything.rollforcomment.com. You can literally just type in anything.
Or Eldamon.com, which used to be the newsletter, is now the Kickstarter.
It's all the same. And that is still going strong. We still got 2.5 more weeks left. And
that's right.
I'm not too worried, actually, because traditionally things go a little crazy towards the end, if anything. And,
usually most Kickstarters get about a third in the first 2 days, a third in the last 2 days, and then the other third in the middle. But we're getting more at the beginning.
It's actually been changing. I was talking to people. The algorithm is now more like 50-ish % of the beginning, and most of it's actually the middle. A lot of people are actually only doing 15-day Kickstarters because the middle
has been dipping down.
It's been dipping for a lot of people
because we have good
51 likes.
We have
Derik,
good awareness.
look at that. 51 likes. Boom.
Oh, well, yeah. Then before Derik leaves, we've got to make him do something.
What is the obsession with making Derik make a
We always
mockery
make the
of
guests
himself?
do something. It's not just
I
you.
know.
It's whether or not it's you, Derik.
It's always somebody. It's always something and somebody.
I don't know. I don't know what to do. I have nothing to do.
You
It's
have
not
nothing
funny
to
to
do?
me. I take it's all very seriously.
Wait, did you end up playing the Leshy yet?
Not yet. No.
Do you have a Leshy voice?
Well, the thing is, no, because I wasn't sure yet which one I was going to play. Apparently, I was going to play some really hard pipe hitting dude who like crushes people and hates it, has like a flail of human skulls. So,
Okay, let's hear. I want to hear the Leshy voice.
It's not from Reaching Rings. I can't remember which one it
I
is.
don't remember. I think it's Skull Ripper or something.
Well, no. Bottle Speaker? No, that's a different one.
Some other one. I don't know. Let's see. I don't know how to plant sound. I mean, you could, like one option would be to kind of go like a really like high pitched cutesy, voice and something like that. Like, hey, what's going on, everybody? Well, I'm a Leshy and I'm very silly, but it doesn't matter that I'm really silly.
Is this going to be broadcast, by the way?
But it'd be really, yeah, it's definitely going to be broadcast.
Okay, so we got to help Derik come up with his Leshy voice.
But it could also, they could also be really, dark and brooding. I am Skull Ripper, or whatever the heck the
I like
guy's
that
name
one.
So
I think that one's going to hurt your voice,
popcorn.
though.
It's popcorn. Reaching Rings is rogue.
I'm Popcorn, the Leshy destroyer of humans. Something absurd.
I like that one.
Or,
Wait, let's give them three options. You had the baritone Leshy, you had the kind of the high one. Do the Kermit the Frog Leshy.
Yeah.
Kermit, Leshy, Popcorn the Leshy here, coming to you from Night's Last Call.
Oh, Barry, what? Hey, everybody. I'm Skull. I'm Popcorn the Leshy, coming to you live from Roll for Combat. I'm actually not. I have a sort of a natural, kind of a false soprano. Like I can actually go up register much easier than go down. So I could probably get to a baritone, but like a bass, it's tough to get. Yeah, I don't know. We'll fun with something. Well, I also have on my not plugged in, but I have like a full voice app like a full.
Oh, that's cheating.
Yeah, but it can make it a lot more fun.
I do like the low level voice of Leshy though was hey everybody.
Yeah, well, it's also really good because it keeps me from talking too much because you can't do that for 4 hours straight.
I bet you can.
Or you could be a twirling mustache. Yeah, see? Yeah, we're gonna go get these humans, huh? Coming to you.
I like that one.
We arrived by Zeppelin, traveling across the transatlantic, straight from London and Portugal.
Is that the twirling mustache, or is that like old timey report?
Both.
It's both. It's both.
It's Dirk Dastardly from the Magnificent Race.
Dick Dastardly.
We're a group of
Dirk
Leshies, a ridiculous ancestry coming to you straight out of Galarian. We're a bunch of plants, but we have been co-opted by a bunch of people who think they're very cute and only want them for Funko Pops and plushies. William.
If only there were Leshy plushies.
Oh man, you just broke the market open, Mark.
Yeah.
Just go full Etsy on that. So. Anyways, it's always a procedure. I actually just sit there usually when I'm driving my car and I just try to see what my voice, can do. It usually happens when I'm like singing along to a song and I just get, and they'll do something in their vocal register and I'll just start kind of like almost making fun of it and like overplaying it. And that's how I kind of end up usually coming up with voices.
I can't imagine you sitting there singing in your car.
No? Oh yeah, we go hard.
Really?
So you have like Kermit the Frog singing "It's Not Easy Being Green" in the car, and then you're like,
no. It'll be something like I always say like this before. Like my goofy voice came from singing Green Day because he just has that high nasally like whining, and it's just like, on holiday. I've been too much different from the hollow lies. This feels the dawning of the rest of our lives on holiday. It just comes from making fun of it because you get bored with just singing the song. Anyways,
those are all good. Wait, I'm now. When are you doing that stream? When is that stream?
Yeah, well, it was supposed to be in July, but we got
July
busy.
2023.
Yeah, and then Aaron bought a house, and Bob had a bunch of people coming in and to town and stuff like that. So, but we're gonna basically figure out a time to slot it in. So the main thing is this Thursday, we're doing our final level 10 spell review, and so that
my god.
So that is after 27, 28, 3 to 4 hour long sessions. So something in the neighborhood of 100 plus hours.
I want to be on that.
Thursday, 7 p.m.
No, I want to be on that.
Yeah, you can be actually.
Oh, okay.
So
I love
we're trying
10th level spells.
We're trying to get a bunch of people to talk about it. It's going to be like, because there's not many 10th level spells, we figure it'll be like an hour or so just to go over the level 10 spells, and then maybe like an hour or two. I put together like a full spreadsheet of all of our ratings. We're gonna like revisit some controversial ones,
if you got room,
and just talk about
do that. I love those 10th level spells. Those are actually those are really fun.
And just talk about the traditions at different level ranges and what strengths and weaknesses the traditions have. And the big controversy, you got the big debate is everyone agrees, including me, that Arcane is the best tradition, Divine is the worst tradition, but the thing that is raging, that is being debated, is which is number 2? Is it Primal or is it Occult? And that's going to be sort of the final take.
There's a lot of good arguments you could make either way, because Occult has some standout spells and a pretty big list.
But I think Primal has more unique spells.
The variety of being able to get you the healing stuff you need while having a bunch of things that Divine doesn't.
I like Primal
in the
a
offense
lot.
and utility variety.
Well, then you can participate as well, Mark.
So like it's hard to say, because Primal is really good for your party if it's like, well, I don't have any other spellcasters. What are we gonna do? Well, Primal can do almost anything you need.
Yeah, Primal.
And I do have to run, but I will say my vote is Occult for number 2. But we are going to be a data-driven organization, and we are going to let the spell ratings weighted by tradition tell us what the real answer is. But
I think Occult is going to have more of the standout spells, but the question is whether having a few standout spells and a larger number of spells is better than having the variety in terms of what fits your party.
Right. Well,
that's why it's interesting. If you did it by spells, I think Occult's going to win, obviously.
Right.
It's not,
and as I always say with our ratings,
not even close.
We always get these ratings in an absolute vacuum. Obviously, there are some spells which we even say might be a D, because as a general purpose spell, it doesn't make a lot of sense. But especially if you're a prepared caster and you know that you are going to be in a situation where that spell is going to be the spell to cast, then that spell could even be better than the best slow, because it's specifically targeted for that. So, all right.
Well,
thank you, gentlemen.
Take care, Derik.
You can go. We can still go for a little while.
Yeah, and I can, but Derik can't.
Derik,
do you want me to just stay on, Steven, so that your your Zoom call doesn't get messed up?
That's right. Why don't you stay on, and then when you're done with your call, you can come right back.
If I'm done, I can pop back on. I will mute myself here, but I'll check in with you guys later.
All right, that's actually even funnier. We could have him. We might be on so long that he can come back.
That would be pretty funny.
The funny thing is that we are not even. We haven't really even talked about D&D and Pathfinder. After all that we've been talking about, GenCon.
We talked about GenCon itself. That's what you were saying.
Yeah, because it's more. It's
but
almost
did you
more
have thoughts concerning D&D and Pathfinder? Because the promotional thing that I saw for this, because you hadn't told me what it was until very recently, but I saw it in my newsletter, said GenCon 2022 is come and gone. There was lots of news concerning the world of Pathfinder and D&D. So join in as we break down and examine all the GenCon news and rumors. So what are the rumors? I haven't even heard all the rumors yet. I'm very interested in that.
Well, the big news is that, at least from the people I was talking to, because D&D has just been going crazy. I mean, they hired first they hired Amanda Hammond from Paizo. Then they hired Jason Tondro. Then they hired, I can't do the order. The order's too hard for me to do. But they recently got Ron Lundeen. And Ron Lundeen, he writes a lot of adventures.
And Patrick.
That's new.
Rennie.
Patrick Rennie just went over there. They got a lot of people. And the tradition is that whenever they come out with a new edition, they always ramp up big time. Because, well, there's a lot of work that has to get done. So but it's been very quiet because they're very good at keeping everything very hush hush over there, so no one knows exactly what's going on. But there was a lot of rumors and speculation with D&D, but I probably don't want to talk about those. So we'll switch over to Pathfinder. One of the most interesting things I found out about Pathfinder was the Paizo Starfinder books for the adventure paths are now just going to come out in hardcover. Did you see that, Mark?
Oh, I actually did not know. You're saying that they're not going to be a soft cover monthly release, but there's just going to be eventually a hardcover Starfinder AP, and then nothing, and then a hardcover Starfinder AP.
Yeah, it looks like they're switching over.
That's interesting because I know that the subscription model of APs overall has been like a sacred cow for Paizo, whether or not it's actually the best bet, but I guess they're willing to test it with Starfinder.
Yeah, that's
very unusual.
No, that was kind of unusual too. I thought that would seem like a lot more work, to be honest.
And usually the hardcovers cost less money than the combination of the buying all of the soft covers. So it would seem like they would, like you said, it would be a lot of work, and they wouldn't make as much from it as maybe that's not true because of the cost of printing and other things that I don't know about.
I mean, keep in mind, there's been a lot of changes at Paizo. There's a new president. There's a lot has happened in the last year.
I'm sure they're thinking very carefully about things. I like that they're willing to mix things up and try something new, because I think one of Paizo has a lot of strengths, but one of the weaknesses is the fact that they're pretty conservative and not willing to try terribly new things a lot. So if they are trying new things, that's great. And they'll see if it works or not, and they can always change back.
Yeah, I know they were doing that. Obviously they announced, we got to be careful because Mark and I probably know things that aren't been publicly announced, so I'm being very careful what I'm saying.
You need to make sure you know what they actually announced.
I'm making sure I'm saying anything that's actually been publicly announced.
Steven asked Derik before the show, and so he knows that they announced like the next 2 adventure paths. For example, obviously they announced Rage of the Elements. So
which was amazing coincidence, because people were like, oh, you guys are doing Elements, and I'm like, we did not talk beforehand. It just is. It's just the same. It's just coincidence that they both are, and they're doing
and
elements.
The elements are actually even different. Like our metal element is an expansion element that probably might not be in the original book, and for them, metal is a core element. And there's only 6, so we're using the word element, but the theming is very different.
Yeah, and I
think they fit together well too, but the theming is very different.
Yeah, and you'll be able to be a kineticist elemental avatar in theory if you wanted to be.
Yeah, you could multi-class.
Yeah, you can do it.
I could see the benefit of that potentially, although I need to think about we need to think about some of the combinations of how elemental avatar works, because I'm currently doing some of the design in my head, and they are based around using these big flashy elemental abilities and then not using their third action on a strike. So I'd want to make sure that weirdly, not because it's elemental, but just because I think it has impulses and other things that aren't strikes that are one action that still can do damage. You want to make sure that the combination of that does not let you do mega turns, but there's ways to figure it out, and there'll be a lot of time to think about it.
So some people asked us if we looked at the Kineticist. I have not. I've not looked at the Kineticist. I don't think Mark has looked at it either.
I haven't had time to yet. I was working on
I haven't had any time.
Working on Battle Zoo yesterday. Through the time, I did see people talking about it on Discord, but that's about it. And some memes where people put specific pieces of it up, and the names in the memes look super cool. I definitely appreciate those, and I can tell that the design team had a lot of fun with those names, and there's a few that I think James Case helped make the name for, because they just,
so we actually have
they feel that way.
question, since Bernardo's like, Stephen and Mark, do you think about changing the wording from elemental to something else to avoid confusion with the new official book? No, because the thing is like, you only have two options when you do that. Either you have to come up with a new word like spren or something, and then you have to explain that to people.
And nobody knows what it is.
Yeah, no one knows what it is. And in our, we're using the word element, but we're using it more like in the word element, in that it is a concept that is inherent to the world, like music. You know,
it's also like Pokemon types, right? But the word type is so generic, it's not good.
Yeah.
Element is just our word for like what type of Eldamon or what type of special abilities there are.
Yeah.
And whereas it doesn't correspond to the elemental planes, whereas Rage of the Elements is about the elemental planes. It's adding a metal and wood elemental plane in Pathfinder.
Yeah, it's very subtle, because theirs are elementals and ours are element. And it's a small but important difference, because, and I also want to mention this because some people have been worried, like, oh, you guys are not going to hit every single element stretch goal. Probably not, but that's okay, because we have a lot, you know, and adding a new element is a ton of work.
It's a big design imprint.
It's a huge amount of work.
There's a reason why there was originally a lot of money in each of these stretch goals.
Yeah.
But the thing is, that means that it's perfect for an expansion book or something else.
Or we add more over time, which we're planning on doing. So
sure. And it's going to probably progress lockstep with the cards, right?
Yes.
So imagine that we expanded to, but let's say the cards were popular and we wanted to make more sets of the cards with more elements, and some of them didn't exist yet. Well, we would also make an RPG supplement for all the new moves that were in the card decks too. So they're going to travel together in an interesting way as long as people continue being interested in them. In fact, in some ways, you're getting extra because the cards only have 10 this time, right? So if we did another set of cards of an equal size, that would be the other 10. And then all 10 of those expansion elements would have appeared in another book. But you're getting some of them early because of mostly because of the extremely amazing push on the first 2 days. And presumably at the end, there'll be another big push too.
Yeah, keep in mind, like, a lot of these, we learned a lot from the last one, and a lot of our stretch goals weren't really, like, we just kind of kept adding to them. And in retrospect, we did too much. We actually
in the first
Kickstarter. So in this one, I actually made them real stretch goals. Like, they are stretch goals in the sense that if we keep getting bigger, then we'll keep adding more, because it's a lot more work. And
they're actually stretching us.
Yeah, they're
and
literally.
If we don't hit a lot of them, then there's another good thing about that, which is we'll be done sooner.
We finish faster.
Yeah,
which
you'll get
not
the product
a small
sooner.
thing.
You'll get the next Kickstarter sooner. So we picked real stretch goals that I was like, okay, each of these stretch goals is probably going to take me another week to do.
Yeah, at least. And keep in mind, like, one of the ones that we just hit literally made the demons 100% bigger. It's not like we added a page. It doubled. Like, these are real stretch goals, and that's something I think people like. We tried to actually add things that people would get value, and
the first stretch goal was even more than doubling the demons, like adding additional lore for each Eldamon. There's 160 of those.
There's a lot going on. So keep in mind
the stretch goals, like, if you think about it, not hitting say 20 extra stretch goals or something like that means that it's 20 weeks sooner. That's like almost half a year.
So that's something we've been keeping in mind, is that I did make them a little shorter, because I think that's okay. I think we did make them spaced out a little too much, but I didn't go nuts.
We decided to put them into a rush for starting at GenCon. We're doing a stretch goal rush. They're currently at 10,000 instead of 25,000. Yeah. It's probably not going to stay there for all of the remaining stretch goals.
Yeah, we'll see.
But I have a progression that I can show you, Stephen, where it stays at 10 for a while and it slowly goes back up. But we'll see where it goes.
Yeah, but things are going okay, and
they're going well. And it means it's good. We win either way, right? All of us, the people, all of you who are backing the Kickstarter, you win either way, because either you get more now and comes out a little later, but you also get more bang for your buck too.
Mhm.
Or it comes out sooner and you get the next one sooner and get those expansion elements too.
We did not hit the centaur yet, so
we did not hit the part where the centaur is even revealed yet.
Yeah, so we'll see. And again, if anyone has questions about Gen Con, in terms of Pathfinder, you know, they did a good job. I mean, they're releasing a lot of new books. They're, you know, Impossible Lands is going to be really good, by the way. I think that's probably my new favorite book coming out. Also the Kingmaker book.
I'm a fan of Impossible Lands.
Yeah, the Kingmaker book, that's coming out soon, and I'm actually going to get it on the channel, and we're gonna talk about it. Mark, I actually spoke to Aaron about that because I played it, and the layout of the book
I played it
is, it's a good and bad thing. I saw the book. I will tell you this: if you wanted to play a game for the next 5 years, you buy this book. It is.
I played it with Linda, and she added a ton of stuff, but this book is huge.
Oh, it's so
Steven,
big.
It's not news to me. If you saw
That's true. I've seen it.
If you saw the book and looked at the credits, you saw that it said design lead Mark Seifert.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Design lead is different than development lead. On an adventure, James Jacobs, the development lead, also very particularly did huge amounts of the work, even more work than a development lead usually has to do. It was like
the amount of
basically like running the marathon, where you know the guy at the end, he ran the marathon and then he died.
Yes.
So the amount I did compared to that is way less because I was mostly looking at rules and design elements. But I was the design lead.
Well, the amount of extra quests, I can't see how it's balanced because there's so many extra quests now in that book that it's got to be like just out of control. It's just it's nuts. So
and maybe it uses the slow XP or milestone XP
because there's so many quests.
So Linda used slow XP for when she was running Kingmaker. She added so many extra quests.
Well, it basically is like an MMO. It looks like it's either an MMO or a Japanese RPG turned into an adventure, because it's like, okay, here is like a spreadsheet of every quest you get on top of the main story. It's like, oh my god, there's a lot going on in here. Did I check out the Kingmaker book? If it has kingdom rules for 2e, it does. I didn't look at the kingdom rules. It's the same as before, except expanded greatly. Everything is expanded. It is. I can't even describe how big it is. It is the closest I've ever seen an MMO turned into an adventure. Because
I don't see why you would say it's similar to an MMO. Do you mean just in the expansiveness of it?
No, in the sense that you have actual people with the question marks over their head where you can get extra quests, like the side quests. There's so many.
That existed in the original Kingmaker,
but not
in
to
the front, in the front and back cover of the of every volume. It had little people and their little quests, like get some eels from this lake.
But it's just, I guess it's just presented better than maybe in this one. If that makes sense. It's just presented.
So I see. You're saying that it has a variety of side quests instead of being a railroad, and to you that has the real hallmark of an MMO, because the side quests are
in my opinion, right? Is that you like? I'm actually playing Xenoblade 3 right now, which is, by the way, fantastic. Probably one of my favorite favorite RPGs ever. Is the side quests literally are side quests? Like a lot of times in these games, like you'll get a quest in an adventure, but they're not really a side quest. It's more like, okay, this is a tangential to the main quest. But here it's like, oh, here's 5 quests that literally have nothing to do with the main quests, and you can do them or not if you want to. Like go over there and take care of something. And it's like, if you never do the quests, you're fine. If you do the quest, you get a little bit more story, but it's it's completely on the side.
So I would compare that to kind of like an open world RPG.
Okay.
Right?
Fair. Yeah.
Maybe like Skyrim, where it's just like you're wandering around into different areas or hexes in Kingmaker, and there's weird stuff there, and there's side quests, and a lot of them don't really matter, but some of them are related to your main plot line. But they do exist in MMOs too. So I see why. I see what you're saying.
I always think of an MMO, well, because when we started playing it, we were heavy into WoW. So I'm always computing and thinking of Kingmaker in my head with WoW. So maybe that's
fair
a big
enough.
part
That makes
of it.
sense.
Because
I was just thinking, what makes
heavy.
it massively multiplayer?
Oh, I'm just thinking of this because I was thinking of quest structure because there's over. I mean, you probably know this, but there was over 3,000 side quests in core vanilla. WoW. A lot of them are gone now, but
Yeah,
that is a lot of quests, and I think I did every one. I think I did every single one of those side quests. There were so many, and I love them. I just love doing the side quests. So when I saw how they break it out, these side quests in the Kingmaker, I was like, this would kill me because I'd be like, give me every single one. I want to do every one of these little side quests. There's so many. I was like,
gotta be a completionist, Steven.
Well, they're all numbered too. That's the other thing. They have like little numbers on them. So I was like, oh no, they can even track them like the spreadsheet. I'm like, oh, it's gonna be terrible.
But does an achievement pop up in front of your face when you get all of them?
There might be. There was a lot of tables in that book, I'll tell you. Did you ever think about? Bernardo said if we ever thought about doing a Forever Alive Kingmaker play by text on the Discord chat. Yeah. I wouldn't mind that. I wouldn't mind doing it if someone else did it, if someone else ran it, because I don't have time to run it, but I would love to do that. Or even just have someone else run a game. That actually, Kingmaker could be run like with like 5-6 people. 7, 8, like a big group.
We had a lot of people in our Kingmaker game, and just whoever didn't show up that week, their character was doing kingdom duties, and so they couldn't come on the quest thing that we were doing because they were too busy with like a dispute between this one city and this other city.
I will say though, I thought the Jewel of the Indigo Isle book would kill me, but after looking at the Kingmaker book, I realized that I was a mere amateur because that book would actually have killed me. I mean, this is it is the most impressive, I think, book I've ever seen for an adventure.
But
ever.
I will say this.
It's
Steven.
Incredibly complex.
Kingmaker is a 6-part AP that then had a bunch of stuff added to it.
True.
From the computer RPG, right?
True. Yes.
And you managed to make Jewel of the Indigo Isles, which is only a 3-part AP, be much more than half the length of it.
Yeah, it's big.
While being a 3-part AP, and Kingmaker had 6 volumes of stuff already written that just needed to be converted. Now, I say just needed to be converted, but that's still pretty significant.
It was a lot of work.
Whereas there was nothing written for Jewel of the Indigo Isles. So I would say that the achievement / overachievement of Jewel of the Indigo Isles is still not to be ignored. But yes, Kingmaker, like an almost Sisyphean task to complete that long of a book for James Jacobs.
Couldn't believe it. I know. It looks like that looks like hell. It's very impressive. It's a very, very impressive book. Thank you, 25 North, who was actually running Jewel of the Indigo Isle. Again, it is so close. I know I keep saying it's so close. I'm still missing
isn't 25 North going to get to a point where there's not a map eventually?
No, but
that's part of our issue is that we don't have all the maps.
We are, yeah. Unfortunately, the maps, you can see how good they look. I mean, they're taking so freaking long to do.
They're amazing.
They're amazing, but they are taking him a while.
Slow.
They're taking Blendo a while, but he's back up to speed.
Does he have all the maps in for the first one?
No, he's missing one. Actually, that's
one.
Yeah, he's missing one map. He's working on it.
Is it near the end?
No, it's the treasure map. It's the actual map. Of
the treasure map. So you didn't necessarily need
the treasure map had to be done at the end
adventure.
though, because we had to finish the maps of
the island
of the islands.
Yeah,
first. And then we could do the treasure map. So we finished the maps.
So maybe he should
islands.
Expedite the treasure map above the ones from part 2 and 3 specifically.
Part 2 is all done. Part 2 is all done. He's now doing the treasure maps, and then he's doing part 3.
But obviously, we don't. There's no point in releasing part 2 before part 1.
Well, I have to finish part. Yeah. So what the order is that when he finishes the treasure map, then part 1 can be released.
We lay out part 1 completely.
Yes.
We do the copy fit.
Yes.
Add in a little bit of intro text.
Yep.
Get that out.
Yep.
Then 2 shouldn't be that bad because of the maps already in there.
No, 2 will probably go much faster.
And then 3 is going to be the tricky one because 3 is just the longest one, and there's so many maps that we still need from Blendo. Yeah. So there we have it. That's actually cool. So people, I knew they were going to come one at a time, but they're going to probably get 2 like not
Pretty
that
quick.
long after 1. And by the time they actually would need 3, I think that like
25
having
North
1 and 2 is good.
25 North has got a way to go. There's 4 chapters or 3. I forgot if
in book 1.
I combined. I can't remember if I combined chapters 3 and 4 might have been combined. I can't remember if I combined them or not. But either 3. I think it's 4 chapters, and they're only in chapter 1, book 1. So they got a while to go, and it's gonna take a while. Chapter 3 and 4 is not fast. So
Yeah, 25 North says after 14 episodes, it looks like they're not done in chapter 1 of book 1. So
yeah, you
that's
guys,
gonna be fine.
it's gonna be a while. I'm not that worried, but it really is close. I know I keep saying it, but it's like, because I sit here and I start doing the layout, and then I realize I'm like missing like 2 or 3 things, and then I'm like, if I don't have the map, I can't put it in, and then it messes up the layout for the rest of the book. So, because whatever. So other things about Gen Con. Let's see, what did I do? The problem with Gen Con is that you go, and I said this to everyone. It's like just as I got into the swing of things, it ends, and it's so funny. I saw a whole bunch of people, and yet I also miss so many people. I hate that. I hate that.
You never see everyone that you want to see at Gen Con.
I know. And I played a lot of board games. I actually don't always get to play board games. The strangest thing is I didn't play any Pathfinder for the first time, maybe ever, because I usually run the specials.
Wow.
So you
even played Pathfinder like before it was out?
Well, I always played Pathfinder.
You played Pathfinder at like Gen Con 2000, for example?
When they were running session zeros. Do you remember that?
Oh yeah, my number before it was 9 for organized play was 1245 because of the fact that I was there when they started.
Really? I didn't play in it. I was playing. No, back then I was playing Living Realms or whatever they called it back then.
Yeah, Living Forgotten Realms.
Yeah, Living Forgotten Realms. I would play that a lot. And then I would play, but I'm always playing
that one
a role
was really popular until apparently like unlimited replay caused like
it was very broken. It was very broken, but I didn't play it for that. I just played it for fun. I played a lot of role-playing games at Gen Con, and then but for this time I mostly played, because I play 2 days a week for Pathfinder, so I don't need any more Pathfinder in my life. So I mostly played board games, and I played, my big game was Legacy. So everyone, if anyone plays out there the legendary card game. So everyone has said the legendary card game is really good. There's legendary card game for Aliens and Predator, and everyone says they're fantastic. So
did you play it?
I played. They had Matrix. Those are older ones, but they had the Matrix, and the legendary game is really cool. It's a card builder where you play through the story of the Matrix. And it works. Mark, you and I got to talk, because I was very impressed. I was like, damn, this game is really, really good and a lot of fun. I then played in a Black Panther tournament, and I've never played Black Panther before, ever. And just to show you that I truly am a game designer now, is that I played the Black Panther tournament. Whoops. And won. I won the tournament. So
nice.
Shows you that I truly do know game design, because I was able to figure out the math pretty quick, and so I won the tournament. And then I played. I actually kept coming back and forth because they had other games that I played. Oh, they have a James Bond game that's been out for a few years, and that was a lot of fun. So yeah, it's been around. It's 10 years old. It's not this legendary has been around. So
yeah, my dad's a big James Bond fan, so I think I got him the James Bond one at one point.
Yeah, it's really good. I liked it a lot.
I was surprised that when I saw it, I was like, I heard of Legendary before. That's why I got it for him. I was like, oh, it's actually
decently, they come out with new games.
Rated.
The new one was The Matrix
as a gimmick.
The Matrix was like their big push. And then I
bet he's never played it, but I did buy it for him.
At Hero Realms, actually they had a big booth, because they're coming out. They have a big Kickstarter right now. They have Star Realms, and Star Realms is really popular. All my friends play, and they were in the tournament. I actually got these. This is fun. This is, if you play Star Realms or Ascension, it's kind of the same. And this is the Ruins of Thandor, and it is basically a single adventure, and me and John Stats played it all the way to the end and won. And you get 50,000 points if you win in the first try.
Oh, well, did you get 50,000
yes,
points?
We did. We got them
What
points.
do you do with the 50,000
I have no idea, but we have them. We got a lot of points. We did really well.
Can you trade them for
40,000
Galactic Star Realm credits?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what we did, but I bought them and played them and finished them in one go. But these are I was doing a lot of experimentation for deck builders, if you noticed. I wonder why, Mark. I wonder why I'm doing all this game playing of card games. Could be
I don't know. It sounds like that you're enjoying card games and deck builders
and researching for someone else's card game or deck builder.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's
ourselves.
not exactly a deck builder of the same way, but sure, that must mean that like the Vault of the Void playing that I've been doing a little bit recently is for research. It's it's a work expense the humble card game bundle of like deck builders that I got as a work expense.
Yeah, these actually no, but it's because I have to get more familiar. I'm very, 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 very familiar with Magic and those ilk, but not so much of the these. And everything's a card builder, everything's a deck builder. But damn, I can see why, because they're fun. They're like I do like Ascension, I do like those type of games, and so is Legendary. They all do it, and I didn't realize to what extent they all did. I didn't realize that pretty much every game now.
A lot of things are.
Yeah, there's so many. I didn't realize that.
And so to the extent that we're not deck building, but that we are using psychology, and PvP
like
on it,
builders, though,
I think that that makes us stand out a little bit and not be like exactly the same as. Like, there's so many that are Dominion-like deck builders.
There were so many.
At this point in time, I call it Dominion-like. Maybe there was another one before Dominion, but it's like...
I forgot. We also had our talks, and I got you in, believe it or not. I don't know how I did that.
I was a Squirrel Ash.
You were the Squirrel Ash. I showed everyone the coins. These are the coins you get for
including
RPG Superstar.
People who themselves will receive the coins.
Yes, and they were very excited. The first one we talked about Eldamon and the Kickstarter. That was a smaller conference. The second one we talked about how to build award-winning monsters. That
seemed like it was ripping.
Very popular. I think we.
How many people were in there? It felt
a lot.
It seemed like there were like almost 50 people, but I didn't get a good sense.
Yeah, it was about that. And then afterwards, everyone was very excited and talking to us. And some of these people actually build monsters semi-professionally, like for their for the Patreons and such. So they were very interested in talking to us about it. And I was going through and. I tell you, I guess imposter syndrome is a real thing, Mark. But I felt like I was giving good answers. Like it's about like I've built enough monsters, and you and I have done enough, and I've seen them, and I understand the math behind them, and so
I've seen your monster skills increasing from between like your initial turnovers to the first ones you made from Paizo to going through RPG Superstar, and you've become a veteran of hundreds of monsters now.
Yes, at this point.
Soon, eventually, you'll be a veteran of 1,000 monsters, which you're not yet. I am a veteran of 1,000 monsters, but you're on your way.
Yeah, but you do see it. Like anything, you see the patterns. When you see that many monsters so frequently, you start seeing patterns. And also me playing Pathfinder, now we're up to level 12. I do see how, for example, you start seeing True Sight. I use this in the panel. Like True Sight becomes pretty prevalent at these higher level monsters because they need to. And like you wouldn't give True Sight to a low level monster unless it was really important, because it also counters because so many of our people now are fully invisible and they have like level 4 visibility, which is great, except for, well, I got True Sight. Too bad. It's like our True Seeing. It's like everyone has this ability, so it's like but you start seeing as the monsters get higher levels that they have new abilities too, and those abilities just don't show up at lower levels. So Marvel Legendary is the only game I own. Yeah, that's the one that I won. It was a tournament where you got points at the end. And I also played the new, what did I play? The new not Arkham Horror. What's the other one? I can't remember. It's by Avalon Hill. It's the one in the haunted house with the haunts that you have to defeat. They just came out with the 3rd edition version. I know everyone's played it to death. That House on the Hill. I always forget the name of it, but I played that.
Wait, which one are you talking about?
Oh, it's
like
Avalon Hill. Like you build the house as you explore it. And
that is Betrayal and House on the Hill, maybe, right? Is the one where one player is a traitor and they will attack you?
Yep.
Yeah.
So they have a new version.
You were right. You said it wasn't House on the Hill.
Oh, Betrayal House on the Hill. Sorry. Yeah, okay. Betrayal House on the Hill. There's so many of them like that. I get sometimes confused. There's because we used to play some of the knockoffs of that. I played that. There's a 3rd edition. It's definitely more streamlined. And unfortunately, we got the worst haunt. We got the haunt that we all had to kill each other, which sucks because no one wanted to do it. But my character had the most strength. I found an item that allowed me to heal all my might and speed. And I had like the best weapons. So I was like, come at me, bro. They all knew they were going to lose too, because I was like, not only can you bring me all the way down, but then I could just heal myself, reset, and then keep going. And my like base strength was 6 or something. So everyone was like, oh. So they all ganged up on me, and I was still like,
you're still going.
Oh, we're still going. Yay!
Still going.
Derik is back. Yay! For a second there, I thought someone broke into the stream because I was like, "Who's talking?" Yeah,
who broke into the stream? Was it Kermit? No, it's
Derik. It's Derik. It's Derik. No, we're talking. I'm now literally going through what I did at GenCon, and
he betrayed everyone at the House on the Hill.
Yeah, Betrayal. I was just saying, I played the new version. I played the new version of 3rd version, but then we had to stop because I was just about to kill everyone, and it was 5-player game no less. It was me against 4 others, and I was still beating them down. But
Can I tell you my problem with Betrayal at House on the Hill?
Oh my God! This is
it the resource?
I'm going to rename you, Derik. Next time you're on the show, it's they say, Derik, can I tell you, quote, can I tell you my problem with, end quote, Melinda?
Let's see if it's the resource silo problem. Go, Derik.
It is not, actually. Here's my problem.
Okay.
Here is my problem with Betrayal at House on the Hill. My problem, and I am only familiar with the original edition and then the second edition and the second edition. I know there's now a 3rd edition.
That's what I played. That's what I played.
Okay, but my guess is they did not change this.
I played this too.
Here is my main problem with the game. Now, fundamentally, I like social deduction games, but I don't like games like Werewolf because the first couple of rounds of Werewolf, especially the first round, is really just guess. And we've talked about this before, right?
Yeah, Werewolf is terrible.
Yeah, right. Werewolf is terrible.
Well, then I have something to tell. I have another story after this is done because I played a Werewolf game.
But games like Battlestar Galactica or not Dark Age of Camelot. That's an MMO.
No, Dark Age. No. That's
not
Werewolf
Dark
2.
Age of Camelot. It's another thing about Camelot. The shadows fall over Camelot.
Shadows over Camelot.
Yeah, that's a werewolf type too.
Shadows over Camelot and Battlestar Galactica board games are Find the Traitor type games, but they are way, way better. And the reason is because the game's objective is to, do X. And it's the same thing, by the way, as like Among Us, where you are trying to do these like tasks. Like the game, there is a game outside of just the social deduction game. The community is trying to accomplish the goal of get so many white swords to put onto the round table, or to get to New Caprica or New Earth in Battlestar Galactica.
Yeah.
And then there is someone hidden
based on that.
And and so you can look at someone's actions that they take on their turn. It'd be like if you're playing Pathfinder 2 and you go, wait, why didn't you move and flank this turn? So my problem with Betrayal on the House of Hill is the game. That there's no way to win the game before the traitor is revealed. So you're just wandering around the house, kind of doing nothing. And then randomly someone is suddenly the traitor. And then it's like the game begins. And so you're kind of just spinning your wheels waiting for the traitor to appear. I wish there was a way for you to essentially win the game. Like if we can get into the house and get the MacGuffin before the darkness overtakes one of us. Like, I feel like that's a lot more tension filled. Instead, a lot of times with Betrayal on the House of the Hill, especially if the haunt or whatever, the betrayal mechanic doesn't come out early, you're kind of just like, I don't know. I go to the basement. I don't know. Like, you're just wandering around this house waiting for someone to become the traitor. And that's a weird sort of resonance with me because you don't like my person, like me playing the game I don't want there to be a traitor, but then that's what the game requires. And so I do want there to be a traitor because that means the game is actually going to start happening and having fun.
Well,
So
that's what happens.
Betrayal isn't really a social deduction game. Though,
it's
right?
it's
No,
not.
it's
It's not. I'm saying, but it could be. It could be.
And then eventually the traitor.
So
appears.
yeah,
So I
I'm
think
saying
that makes it a middle ground though. It's
Right.
it's not like literally terrible like Werewolf / Mafia, but it sort of is just a different game where you're wandering around. My friend who was very, very into social deduction games in college and like made some of his own. His problem was basically that once the traitor is revealed, the winning strategy is to put everything onto one person.
Oh, yeah. That is
in
true.
general.
I mean, don't get me wrong. The scenarios in the game, the different ways that the traitor manifests, all of that is awesome. Like that, like for me, I'm all like, can't we just start at that point of the game? Like, it's just that first period of time isn't really this tension building component that I think it's supposed to be.
Whereas Dark Age and Battlestar, that's where you're gathering information.
Exactly.
Right? You can have funny stories like not Dark Age, Shadows over not Absalom, Shadows over Camelot.
Right.
The Shadows over Absalom is the scenario for PFS. So the only time I've ever played Shadows over Camelot, we had a really fun gameplay that happened. It was all actually at a GenCon, although it was an Australian GenCon when we were visiting Australia and GenCon happened. What wound up happening was I was Arthur, and so I was giving everyone the cards they needed to succeed.
Yeah, Arthur's
great.
So
then my little brother, who's usually very good at games, was just like, "You're the traitor, Mark. You failed your own checks." And I'm like, "Dude, I'm Arthur. Remember when I gave everyone the cards they needed and that I didn't have any cards?" He was just like, "No, you're the traitor because you've been failing your own checks." And then I was like, "Okay, listen, everybody else, you saw me giving you the cards, right?" Yes. There's no way that he possibly would have accused me of this other than if he's the traitor and he's trying to do this, right? Everyone else was like, yes. So then we just all concluded that he was the traitor, and it wasn't. It was it was another one of the players. Because of the acrimony back and forth, because of his incredibly terrible accusation that made no sense, and everyone was like, "Oh, you're the traitor," then. It allowed the actual traitor to completely ruin us, and then we just immediately lost when the actual traitor revealed.
And to me, that is like,
that was great.
Oh, it couldn't get better than that. It shows you that and I've talked about this story before, but when I played Battlestar Galactica 1,
and there was no traitor,
and there was no traitor, and we still lost. And I go, and that just shows you that the real enemy the whole time, right, is us.
Derik, yes. Derik all along. So but wait,
Steven
I gotta answer.
Wait. A werewolf story.
I gotta talk because. So Ollie Wright for £5 said Werewolf is terrible, but have you seen, heard, or played Blood of the Clocktower? The answer is yes. I did it at GenCon, and that's my story. So congratulations, Ollie. You get the prize of the best question of the day because that's the only thing I didn't talk about. So Blood on the Clocktower, and I don't know why they called it Clocktower, but they said because the GM like goes like this when they're pointing to someone because it's supposed to be hands of a clock, which is cool. You have to look it up, but it's
I just brought it up. BloodOnTheClocktower.com.
No, it's very good.
Never heard of it.
It's the new hotness. Like this is like all people are talking about. It is a combination RPG.
Wait, didn't
it came out like 3 years
talk
ago.
about it the last time when you were telling us about Battlestar Galactica, Derek?
We did. We did talk a little bit about it.
I remember only knowing about it from that episode. So
this is what happened. I'll give you the real history. It came out like 3 years ago in prototype form. It got insanely good reviews. People lost their minds. It just came out. I literally just got my book. I actually got the game itself. It's very cool because there's a huge book, and the book has felt on the items, so you can keep track of where everyone is and who everyone is. And there's literally a person who walks around as the game master who just directs the game, and they can lie too. And every person in the game has a role, and their role gives them special powers. And if you're dead, you still stay in the game. And the powers, depending on, there's actually scenarios. And so you can play like an easy scenario, medium, hard, very hard. So I played it at GenCon. I've never played it before. And it turns out we had 14 players. They even have things like people who can be travelers, which they affect the story, but they're neither good nor bad.
Yeah, I saw that.
Directly.
If you arrive, it says if you arrive late to a game, you can enter after it started.
Oh,
and
they thought of everything. And
yeah, I mean, this clearly is an iterative design, right? Where they said,
it's incredible.
What are our problems with Werewolf? How do we make this a better game?
It's a much better game. So in the end, this is what happens: is that there was 11 good people, 1 demon, and 3 minions. I was a minion, and there's one minion called the Poisoner. And what the Poisoner does is when everyone closes their eyes, you wake me up, and then I point to someone, and whoever I point to, their abilities don't work, or they work in the reverse of what they're supposed to. So, for example, one person had the ability to know if someone was good or bad. So, because I don't know who anyone is, but if I poison them, they can point to someone and they'll say, okay, they're good. But then the very next round, they poison them, they point to someone, they said they're bad, and they're like, oh, great, I don't know if they're good or bad or not. And that's how it works. So everyone's ability basically can knock off everyone else's ability or affect it in some way. And you add that times 15 people, and it becomes, oh my God, what a mess! What a mess it turns into.
It seems cool.
It was good, and by the end, every single good player was killed, except for the bad guy. The main bad guy, the 3 minions, and 1 good player. But here's where it gets crazy. They were the mayor, and the mayor is that if there's only 3 players left and the mayor is still alive, the good people win.
Nice.
So even though there was only 4 people left, there was a chance that good was going to win, even though, there's only 5 people.
How would they have killed one of the minions, though?
What's that? Oh, no, because they still voted, because the ghosts...
Oh, ghosts can vote?
Yes, ghosts can vote.
So as long as enough ghosts correctly determined which one was the mayor, then if they'd killed that minion, then the townsfolk won.
They win. And the problem
did they kill the mayor? Even if they picked randomly, they would probably win.
That's exactly right. Well, what ended up happening is we ended up they ended up voting off one of the minions. And I was quiet the whole time. Like everyone, I was very good at deflecting. You'd be so proud, Derik. And then by the end, they ganged up on me. They killed me. Yeah, the ghosts only get 1 vote.
As a collective whole.
As a collective, they killed me. And so that I was out. So there was only 1 round left, and there was only 4 people left. So it was 2 minions, 1 demon, and the mayor. So if there's only 3 people left. So if they voted out the minion, the good people won. If they voted out the mayor, the bad people won. And they were about, because as you said, there's a chance, they were about to vote out the bad player, and I was a ghost, and they miscounted the votes, and they ended up, like, I won't get into all the details, but basically, long story short is I was the last vote in the entire game, and they miscounted the votes, they miscounted how many ghost votes were left, and I ended up killing the mayor. So the mayor ended up dying.
Wow.
And then we won.
It should be easy to not kill the mayor at the end, because
no one knows. He just said they're mayor, but no one knows.
So the player says they're mayor, right? Yeah. And then obviously one of the evil people say that they're mayor.
Correct.
And then you just kill either of the other ones, and then you
can only kill 1 at a time, though. And you
but unless all 4 of them say that they're the mayor, Mark kill either of the other ones.
That's
Mark applying your differential probability.
No, it did work.
This is why I always get killed. No. This is
what happened. There was too many. I basically, by the end, I was sowing so much discord between being the poisoner and I kept hitting the right people that no one can trust anyone. It became a total mess.
But it doesn't matter. Even if you
but Mark,
that one of the people who claim
in those times, not everyone is listening to logic if they've been misled.
We were doing this for 2 hours. There was no logic left. There was logic went out that window, and people were flying left and right.
Yeah, I will say that games like that, in my personal opinion, are more fun when they play quick. It's like one of the reasons why I like playing like Coup.
Well, this can go quick.
Avalon.
It can go quick if you kill the right person, but we just somehow managed to have every single bad guy
Yeah.
And remember, the only way you can win is that. Well, it's called the Virgin. If you kill the Virgin, good wins right away. So you got to be careful you don't kill the Virgin. There's all these like one-time things, and we just got it. The longest the game could possibly go is if you single-handedly kill every single good person and some of the bad people, and that's exactly what happened.
Or not. I'm sorry, I said coup. I meant resistance. The resistance.
Avalon.
Yeah.
There's the resistance, and then there's the resistance Avalon, which is just fantasy themed resistance.
Yeah,
but
it has some other extra stuff.
Yeah, it does.
Like the Merlin,
the Merlin thing. But yeah, it's mostly the same game. But yes, I like those games. I would rather play those games than Werewolf. This game though seems like they fixed a lot of. I mean, again,
it's really well done. Like, look it up. People lose their minds, and in fact, the guys on that board game channel, I forgot the very popular one. It was British guys. They said, the guy who runs it said not only was it his favorite board game maybe ever, or game, his girlfriend said too. And they said because as the GM, it's fun just running it, because you get to help narrate the story, because you can lie too. You don't have to tell the truth. So you have a big part of it as well.
Did you guys talk about the Ennies at all?
No, I didn't actually go to the Ennies, but I do know that someone picked up our book for $10 there, because what happens is you submit your books and then they sell them at the Ennies for like $10.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone, it's not just mine, everyone. So anyone who submits their books at the Ennies, you can pick up because they recycle them. And someone got like our book real cheap and they had me sign it. So I was like, okay, there you go. So
well, Thirsty Sword Lesbians won gold for best game.
Yeah.
And Root won silver. So
I almost picked it up. I
nice.
saw it there. It was all over the place, but I was like, if you ever play it, I'd be very curious. Try that RPG.
But it was a Call of Cthulhu did really well.
Yep. What was fascinating about this, Ennies, is that shut up and sit down. They're the ones who love. Oh my God, do they love Blood on the Clocktower? I will say, the Ennies used to be Paizo winning every single category.
Yeah, it was. I remember that.
Like every year. And I don't think they were in anything this year. Like it really has changed quite a bit.
But even like, as I look through this, best writing went to...
I mean, the reason why the Ennies changed...
Dune, Adventures in the Imperium.
So easily is... What you need to look at is what gets nominated, because that is entirely done by a curated list of judges.
Yeah, they need to increase
whoever's the judges,
though.
they have their own opinions, right?
I know.
There was that one year that all of the Lamentations of the Flame Princess stuff was what was getting nominated. So it depends on who gets it to the judge pool, whether you get nominated at all.
Yep.
It's absolutely a popularity contest.
Hold on.
I don't think it's popularity.
It's not even a popularity contest. Once you get nominated, then it's a popularity contest. So if a big name company gets a product nominated and they have a ton of fans, then that's probably what's going to win in that category. But with the judges, it's just like, there's only a few judges, right? And if there's some of them who are like, let's promote indie games this time, which is like a legitimate and cool thing to do, then that's probably what's going to get nominated.
Are you saying that they have an agenda, Mark?
I'm saying that I'm not saying that at all. I'm saying that people have their own preferences of what they want to do.
I will say
that's sort of how it works.
As now someone who submitted their books, and I thought I had a real good shot because our layouts are freaking gorgeous. I do think they need to increase the categories, because I saw the list. There is like, it's not even hundreds. I mean, there's like hundreds upon hundreds, if not thousands of people submitting for 5.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, that's at 5 people make it. Like in the old days, it wasn't that many, but
that's true. That is actually true.
A lot of books. Like I saw how many books were in that category list.
What do you think? Like 10 or 15? Maybe just don't. Maybe
up to 10 or just more categories, because it's like, okay, best design.
Yeah.
I won't get into it because a lot of the things that were considered best design, I think, are very gorgeous and they look great and they're beautiful and they're...
Well, then why wouldn't they be in best design?
Because they're very hard to use, because there's a difference between
is it a usability category or
and
is
functionality. No, it's just design, category? But design, but you have to... I can make anything look gorgeous, but then it's unusable as a book. Then that's not the point.
I have so many
both.
I have so many books, Stephen, that are gorgeous aesthetic winners, but fundamentally are flawed.
Oh God, yeah, they're impossible to use.
They're unusable.
Yeah.
And we actually had a conversation about this recently on our channel.
Between you and me, I've had this conversation many times.
But about Mr. Mark's Dark Archive. And the layout inside of the book is done in a very almost evocative way. There's a lot of...
Why is it Mr. Mark's Dark Archive?
I don't know. He decided to call it that. Ask him.
Okay.
I mean, you're on the list, right?
I'm one of the cover authors.
But he didn't do the layout.
The thaumaturge and some other stuff. But
I'm not saying Mark did the layout. That's what I'm saying. But I could also shout out James Case, but he's not here. But the point was, we were looking at this book, and we were kind of basically, one of the comments we had was, this layout style is very conversational. Outside of the two classes, it's a lot of weird fonts and everything like that. It's very evocative. And we said, but probably a real bear to use at the table. But then we said, but maybe the assumption is everybody's using Archives of Nethys, everybody's using Foundry compendiums or Nexus or whatever. Maybe books don't have to be functional anymore. Maybe you can just think of the book as literally an art piece, and functionality now, we were saying before I left to go take my other meeting, more and more people are playing online. So the physical book maybe becomes less and less important. I don't know.
I mean, if the physical book can become more and more like a sparkly die set, then maybe people will pay more for it than they would for functional text.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, listen, you're talking to a guy who loves the layout of OSE or 4th edition D&D, which people say is about as dry as a textbook. But I love that.
I don't think 4th edition D&D looked like a textbook. It kind of looked like one of those Prima strategy guides to a video game.
All right, I'll buy that. But even still,
which is still not quite what you would expect. But those usually were pretty fun to look at in a certain way too.
Well, that was one of many comments and critiques that people had about 4th edition, is they said that the books, didn't have any soul, and that the presentation was too clear and too easy to understand.
Easy to understand?
Yes.
What? Did anyone really say that?
Oh, yes.
Used another word?
No, I mean, they were
sort of meant easy to understand was that they
Mork is a good example. That book.
Unreadable.
It is gorgeous, and it is beyond unreadable. Yeah. And here's the thing: I have a degree in this I have a degree in print design and layout and visual communication. It's called visual communications. It's my design, and I taught it at NYU. I taught it at Carnegie Mellon. I taught it at the New School. You have to have both. You can't have something that is gorgeous and beautiful that's supposed to teach you something that fails in its core functionality, which is teaching you how to play a game. And I think people are getting wrapped up in, oh, this looks amazing. Oh my God, this thing is awesome. Fine, use it in a game where you're looking up a rule and you're trying to find something while everyone's looking at you and waiting to have the game continue going. Good luck. It's just that. Yep. And if you were in my class, I would have given you an F.
I used to have this problem with Games Workshop fantasy. Warhammer Fantasy Codexes, which were called army books, were full of unbelievably beautiful art, and it was the kind of art that the words wrap around it, as you're going through the thing. But if you're looking for a special ability or a rule while you're in the middle of a game, I don't want to be referencing that.
You have to have both, and you can have both. I think the Paizo books do a very good job of it. I think our books do a pretty good job of it too. I try to have both. Yeah,
I think your books do a much better job of it than the Paizo books. If we're just gonna call it what it is.
Thank you very much. But the point is I'm very careful to make sure, I'm very careful to even make sure, I'm keeping things on the same page, as I'm very careful to make sure that I try whenever possible not to even have text go from one page to another. So everything is as dense, and Mark knows,
that's great, and
very
that's
hard.
usable, and I like that for my game. But here's my my hot take to that, Stephen, is should that be the thing that's winning an award for design, or should it be the one that
It
does
depends.
a weird and visually striking
You're
design
completely right.
that nobody's ever done before?
No,
Like,
you're completely right.
I think it's praiseworthy, and it's the design I'd
well,
rather
that's why
have
I think
in my
they should
book,
be separate
is the
categories.
one that is usable, but
They should be different categories. Or if I was one of the judges, I would not be. I would actually like rate a lot of these quote gorgeous books much low, like pretty low.
I for me, I know I'm probably not. I'm probably in the minority here. For me, role-playing books are tools.
Correct.
And
no, you're not in the minority. If when I was this is what we used to teach. It's like if the function does not work, this is where Apple succeeded, where no one else did. Is that back before, back in the 80s and the 90s and early 2000s, Apple was the only company that was able to do both form and function and design all at the same time.
Right.
And they still do to this day. I mean, look at the iPhone.
And that's why they have.
That's why they're Apple.
That's why they're Apple.
Yeah.
Right?
And the thing is, they were able to do it, and no one else was. And now, again, I'm not saying this is easy. In fact, this was easy. Everyone would have been doing it, but they're not.
Correct.
It's incredibly hard, like beyond hard. But the point is,
Steven,
do
you have a background in architecture too for your Louis Sullivan form follows function?
Not architecture, but information architecture.
Okay.
I do.
No, but architecture is a very similar. This is a beautiful building. But you can't actually put any offices in it.
Oh, dude, yeah.
Oh, no, sure. Trust me. I worked at the Status Center at MIT before I came to Paizo. It is supposedly a gorgeous building, I guess. I never liked what it looked like for most Frank Gehry buildings, but it is a disaster, and they sued Gehry for like some of the issues with the actual design.
So I have a Frank Gehry story for you, right? Frank Gehry designed the Peter B. Lewis building at Case Western Reserve, and it's got this aluminum curved thing, right? And that building open, and then it's Cleveland, so in the wintertime massive ice sheets would form on top of the building, and then when the sun would come out, they would melt, and then they would slide off, creating these like 1,000-pound ice sheets. And then they had to like build all these like fences around the building because you couldn't stand next to it because you might get killed by an ice flow.
That sounds about right.
Yeah, and the Walt Disney Concert Hall that Gehry made caused excessive glare that just like it was designed, it would just shoot off like a ridiculous amount of basically a laser beam at you. Yeah. And the one and the Status Center was just like structurally unsound against precipitation as well. So like
yeah, I don't have any of those. It was
showed that like the other architects and engineers that like at MIT or whoever had brought in to work with him had like warned, and they were like, no, this is a problem. And then he was like, yeah, well, we're doing it.
When I didn't have that story, but I grew up in Great Neck, and our neighbor had a Frank Lloyd Wright house. It was like 2 houses down from me, and that house, gorgeous, disaster. I mean, that thing was like falling apart. It was just an absolute disaster. So, but the point is like that is an example of a beautiful book. That is exactly what we just said. It was like these things look great. Do they work? No.
It's
but
ironic
they look amazing.
Wright was like the disciple of Louis Sullivan, who coined form follows function. Right. So
that being said,
Louis Sullivan would have been sad that Wright made such a functionless building.
That being said, I mean, Lazarus Dark up a little bit in the chat was saying, I'd like to see separate table mechanics into a lay flat spiral bound book for the table, and then still have the art and lore book separately to put on the shelf and pick through and flip through personally. That is probably what I would prefer, but I understand that that's not everybody. But
I'm curious though what's going to happen to our role playing books in general, and because if you think about it, you know what I think about a lot, just because my background is video games. Well, guess what? Video games, because video games
is what you think about a lot. Is it World of Warcraft?
Not World of Warcraft, but in video games, like remember when we used to get those really nice books, the rule books, and we would talk about like just how gorgeous these books were and have all the information. And I would get role-playing games, you get like the Ultima Online, or not Ultima Online, Ultima 2, Ultima 3, Ultima 4. I mean, those books were like they were like 300 pages. They were amazing.
They had like cloth maps.
They had lore and art.
Yeah. Oh, it was gorgeous. So
and now
Now you get
Just
nothing.
like
Now
even
you
game-
download.
You don't even get a
now you
PDF.
now you download it from Steam. There's no instruction
There's
manual.
no instructions.
even
There's not
if
even
you
a PDF.
bought the
There's
physical,
nothing.
there's like a link to a website that may have some of the information.
Yeah, if you're lucky. And
yeah.
now I'm wondering, like, you're saying that because let me tell you, it is a lot to print these books. Paper is going way up. Like, it is very expensive. And I'm wondering if that's going to happen, that even getting one of these books, and these books are, they're, hey, remember you said that they should be more expensive? Well, I have good news for you. They're getting more expensive. WotC is raising the prices a lot. Paizo, I know, is going to be raising the prices. And it's not because they want to. It's that these books are very expensive to print. And look at that, it's like full color, gorgeous. The paper's going up. It's just like everything's going up. So is it going to start becoming that, okay?
Is that the wormwood?
Is it turning into like, well, if you want a book, you can get it, but you're just going to either have to get the PDF or an online version because, or do what WotC's doing, which is very interesting, is they come out with 3 96-page hardcover books for Spelljammer and charge like $70 for 3 books.
It's and that's really one book. You're just really buying it. Book. You're buying it in 3 volumes.
Yes, it was sneaky the way they did that one. I saw that. I was like, you guys.
Yeah, I don't know who got fooled by that. I'm sure a lot of people did, but those are very tiny books.
I know, they're sneaky. Sneaky.
It makes Paizo putting like 600 plus pages into one book look like idiots. He's like, you guys, you could have sell each book as a class and charge $49.95.
Well, they used to do that as the player companion stuff. Yeah, but you know what we're trying to do with that with monsters? We're trying that as an experiment with the Year of Monsters. And everyone's complaining, not everyone, but we're getting complaints that it's, a little too expensive. But I'm like, you know what? We're trying something out.
I think it's not as visible what's in it. The fact that it has the Foundry modules and everything else doesn't have the Foundry modules, and
we give you a free Foundry module.
Behind the scenes streams where
we're giving you a
get
lot
to work with the designers on it.
And if you're paying per monster or PC, it's a very reasonable price. It just seems, if you're like, we'll just get one single book. Like, we're trying out new things and seeing, because if
you take out the Foundry module from it, then it's like $4 to $5 per ancestry, which is like, what would you expect to pay less than that for?
Well, this is it's going to go this way, whether we're like it, it's like I see people who are buying something and then they rebuy it again for the online portion for the exact same price or just a little bit less. So is it much
roll 20
or any of these products? Right, exactly. Like how many of these people, or like a D&D online, D&D Beyond. D&D Beyond is $50 for the book, and then you buy it online, you get it for I don't know, $40-$50 for the same exact thing.
We played one online campaign, 1 to 20, 5th edition. I did not DM it. My friend Aaron did. He bought the book, then he bought the Roll20 book, and then he bought the D&D Beyond book. And you bought the book 3 times.
Yeah.
And only one of them was real.
Yeah.
And you're paying full retail.
Yeah. And we're giving you everything. We're giving you everything, and we're trying to keep it reasonable. And if people are like, oh no, I don't want any of that other stuff, I'm like, all right. So we're trying. We're fooling around. They're experiments.
We did have a super chat there.
I know. Yeah. What is your? And then we should end this because our short. Once again, we're going to do short today. 2 hours.
Not my fault today. Not my fault today.
I know, but I like talking to you so much. And when I said that, it could have been Mark or Derik.
It's the plural, you, and it's all of you watching it.
All of you, everyone there. Ollie, right, and then we end. What's each of your favorite design TTRPG books of all time layout design?
Oh, gee.
I won't include my own, because I think mine are real. I think my dragon book is.
I feel like the ones that have the best layout are probably the ones where the layout just didn't get in the way and just kind of did what it needed to do to me at least, in a way that I won't be able to name them. Whereas the ones that stand out are usually ones where the layout made it more difficult for me.
Well, I can't say my absolute favorite, but I'll give a few. Obviously my books, of course. I will, of course, they're really well designed. The One Ring is really well done. The One Ring has form and function. It's beautiful.
The first edition?
No,
in
the new
Cubicle?
one. The
one from Free Liga?
Yeah, there's a free league. It looks like a Lord of the Rings type book. It's beautiful. It's easy to use. It's very well done. The paper, like everything, they really got it. That's a gorgeous book. Believe it or not, I truly like a lot of the Starfinder books, especially when the first one came out. And the reason I liked it so much, now I'm getting super geeky, is they use tertiary colors, which no one does. And I was just like blown away by the design of that, because I was like, whoa.
Is that why you use quaternary colors for the dragons?
That we did use quaternary colors for the dragons, because someone else used tertiary. No, we did, you know that. But they used purples and orange, and I was like, from a design point of view, this is so hard to pull off, and it was so vibrant, and just the color scheme and like what they were doing blew me away as a designer. I was like, wow, this is awesome. They were doing neat stuff, and it looked so different than anything else out there, and it felt fantasy science fiction. It just oozed it. I loved I still do, but when I first saw the Starfinder book, I was like, wow, this is very unlike anything I've seen. And it was fun. It wasn't like a lot of these science fiction books are so drab and dark and science fiction-y, and like metals and stuff. But like this one is like it felt like it was like Guardians of the Galaxy, but it felt like fun, and like fun and kind of like a science fiction fantasy. They didn't have a term for it back then, but it was like, wow, this is awesome. I love that.
Yeah, I would say, I mean, I think the early 4th edition D&D books have an incredible layout design. I think old school, I mentioned this earlier, old school essentials took the very labyrinthine mess of BX Labyrinth Lord D&D and created a very clear and concise way of doing it. And I also think not Burning Wheel, because that's inscrutable, but Mouse Guard.
Mouse Guard's gorgeous.
It's gorgeous.
Mouse Guard is very nice.
Yeah, it's
but
gorgeous.
it's beautiful. The art is incredible.
Root's good too.
The Root is very similar
really
in a vein.
Good. Yeah, it's very similar. I was just thinking Root. They have one design. See, they also have a big advantage because they have one person in house who does all their layout and design, and that's a very nice style, and they're able to keep it consistent. So they have a big advantage for that.
But yeah, I thought those, and I love the form factor of the Mouse Guard books, by the way, too.
Yeah, Mouse Guard.
It's like
good.
that. It's like a very weird size book.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't know.
It's almost like
let me think of mice, because
I don't like those
square.
square books. Yeah, that's a couple of, it was like Wilhelm or something. There's a couple of books that are now doing that. First of all, it's very expensive to make anything square. Like, you don't want to do that. Yeah, so you don't want to do that, and it's a nightmare to lay out.
Yeah,
because what happens is you get what's called eye fatigue. That's why you have to have columns, because if your eye goes too long, your eye will break off. So that's why you have to do columns, and that's why things are in newspapers, they have columns, because otherwise if it's too much, you stop reading. So
yeah, all right, I'll buy.
Yeah. What about you, Mark? Yeah. You're the only one who didn't answer.
I answered first.
Oh, what was your answer? My
answer was that I think that whatever is the one that I found the most useful to me is probably one that won't stand out.
Like, in other words, like because you didn't notice it, it means it was the best.
Yeah, it means it didn't get in my way for understanding the information.
That makes sense, because what I used to, in the class, I would start off by saying, good design is unobtrusive. It is like you'll look at something, you'll both look at it, and someone who can talk the language of design will say, which one do you like? And the person who can't talk the language of design will say, oh, I like this one. And they'll say, why? Like, I don't know why, but there's something about it that I like.
So I'm circling back to my thing that I said about the award, which it may seem weird that I said that the one that I didn't notice is my favorite, but I still think that the one that I did notice that I wouldn't want to use should win the award for being a flashy and an unusual layout. I just don't want an award-winning design necessarily for my book, because I want usability.
Sure. Can I ask you an industry question?
I might not be able to answer.
I don't know who you're asking.
No, Steven.
Okay. Oh, yes.
Or Mark. I mean, it's fine. You guys are both industry insiders. It's my understanding. Hell, your brother has probably some insight into this as well.
Yes.
My understanding, right, is like you have movies that literally release end of the year because they're chasing, you know, Oscar
Oscars.
nominations,
Yes.
and they want to be in people's
Correct.
mind, and then they're still new enough that if they do win the award, that can really help secondary, you know, viewings and back
Correct.
in the day DVD sales.
Correct.
Does winning an Ennie mean anything, like from a marketing perspective?
Yes.
Does anyone care?
Yes.
I think it does for a small indie game, and that's also why, in some ways, it's very good that the judges
Like, are a bunch of
try to
fifth-
highlight out
Does
the indie games. Because
like-
5e is not going to be affected by it.
like are a bunch of 5th edition players gonna go buy Thirsty
No.
Sword Lesbians because it won gold?
No,
Well,
but it will be.
You're saying 5th edition players,
Yeah,
they
fine.
usually only play D&D. But if you're talking about
No.
anyone else, any other players, Pathfinder players or players of any other games, if you're a small game and you win an award, that is going to get some number of people who are like, they got it. I mean,
No,
you Derik, you literally pulled out the 2 award winners and said, "Oh, look, they won gold and silver." You
I'm
were
going to
an
tell you
example.
where it's going to help, and then we should end because I do.
Well, I
stuff to
already
do.
owned a Mark, so that doesn't
Oh, okay,
count.
fair enough.
Okay, if you're a small publisher and you're trying to get into the flags, and those are the fantasy stores, like, you know, the stores that sell fantasy, you know, role playing games and everything. It's hard to get into flags sometimes, but the minute you win the Ennie, I guarantee that all those stores that aren't carrying those books are writing them right now and saying, "Hey, can we buy a retailer bundle from you?"
All right, fair
And
enough.
So that's what's going to happen. And also, it's easier for them to get into distributors if they aren't already. So the answer is yes. Does it help Paizo? No, not really.
No.
Does it
I-
help
because
5e?
doesn't help
No.
D&D.
Because
No,
Paizo's
doesn't-
big enough that
no.
they are already in the
They
stores
just
that they're going
brag.
to be
They
in.
got them
Yeah,
all, but that's
okay.
it. Does it help Thirsty Store?
Do you think
Thirsty
that-
Sword?
do you-
Yeah, definitely.
Do you think that maybe factors into the judges' nomination
I
process?
can't answer
then?
that because the judges are random people and they can
Yeah,
judge according
They're
to their
voted
own.
for each year by people who vote for the judges, I think. right?
Interesting.
Yeah, I don't know.
So
who,
you
yeah.
vote for judges and then the judges curate. So each judge has their own opinions about what they want to do. And I think that certainly it is a praiseworthy use of the awards to help elevate small products that would otherwise not be seen. So
Yeah.
like, I definitely don't want it to sound like I'm saying that they highlight indie games and that's not a good thing, because it is a good thing. Just each judge has their own opinion of what they want to highlight, and that's maybe how it should be if you have a representative democracy like that, where you vote for the judge and the judge is the one who does it.
I would say that, yeah, there is actually a lot of categories. It's funny if you look at the Ennie, I think there's like 50 categories already, but
It's not 50. There's like 20.
that's there. I thought there's more. There seemed like there was a lot, but they need a lot more categories, especially for
Product,
books
best
now.
writing, best supplement, best setting,
but
best
see,
rules.
Yeah, that's not enough. I mean, there's just, especially now, like maybe 10 years ago, that was enough because there was that many products. I mean, you were just saying when you went to Origins, I mean, and look at behind you, Derik. I
So
mean,
Derik was closer
there's
to
a
their
lot of
22
books.
categories.
there's a lot of books out there. And ironically, there's best podcasts that I've never submitted my damn podcast, which I really should do one day. I was like, you know, I probably
the
should.
one that, I'll be honest with you, the one that won gold ain't slayed nobody. Never heard of it.
That's the other thing. I never heard of any. Some of these podcasts, I've never even heard of any of them.
Well, plus one forward, I listen to because that's the kind of the big Powered by the Apocalypse.
Okay.
Was that
No,
a
that's
pun,
fine.
Steven?
What's that?
Was that a pun?
No.
Okay.
I don't even know what I said.
You said that you've never listened to any of them.
Oh, any of them, nice.
Ennie.
Any
Well, I do
of
listen
them.
to ironically, I do listen to the Ennie podcast, who invented the Ennie
Okay.
Awards. I love that podcast. We need to be on it again. We've been on it twice. I need to get on it. We need the hat trick. Need to be on
I
it 3
thought they're
times.
not doing it
They're not.
anymore.
They're not. They're doing they have a separate. It's
So how
called,
can you be on something that they're not doing?
well, that's the
Steven
trick.
will find a way.
That's the trick. You're right. How can you?
So
I
Bernardo,
actually I have a way. I have a way.
Bernardo asked Derik, did Avatar Legends win anything? I don't think it was.
I don't think it got nominated.
I don't think it was what's the word, qualified or able to be nominated this year because
it wasn't done.
It hasn't.
Period.
Well, I don't think it's. Yeah, it wasn't released by the time of their cutoff date.
You have to
that being said, right here, right now, I'm going to say it. Avatar Legends will probably win something next year for sure. It's a very modern design game. Let's just put it that way.
All right, so where's everyone? Mark, do you have your show tonight?
Yes. So you should come to Arcade Mart. We're going to be talking about like magic items in Knights of Last Wall and more.
Derik, do you have your show tonight?
I do, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and we are going to be talking about pew 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 the Kineticist.
Okay. I'm 7 p.m. Pacific time.
Yes, sorry about that. Someone did ask us if we talked about the Kineticist. The answer is no, because Mark and I did not read it. The only one who read it was Derik.
And he was not there when
he was not here when it brought up, so we did not talk about it. Maybe we'll talk about it in the future, but right now, I also don't really love talking about playtests because they change so much. I mean, that we could do a topic and stuff. It's almost like it's the same reason I don't even play like pre-release games or like anything like, you know, early access. I just don't bother because I'm like,
wait, didn't you just say that you played a playtest for something and won a tournament on it or something?
No, it wasn't a playtest. It was an actual game. Like I played.
Well, so obviously it came out yesterday. We already had a bunch of people in our Patreon Discord building characters, running games with it, giving feedback. We spent, I don't know, a good 2 or 3 hours last night kind of picking over the feats.
And you hate every single one of them.
No, I actually
impossible. I don't believe it.
I do think that you are going to be put into an unenviable pickle, which I hate to be put into in these type of games, where you're going to sometimes be forced to pick between the feat that functionally allows your character to work and the really cool and evocative thing that you want to like be able to do.
Well, if you play an elemental avatar, you get both. You don't have to worry about
that is a +1 to you, sir. That's because that is one of the things that, for example, just to put a little bow on it, when 4th edition D&D came out, you got powers as you went through the course of the game. And they very clearly said, hey, these are combat powers, and you get to pick between a combat power. And then you would get levels where there would be a utility power, and you could only pick a utility power. And the idea there was they didn't want you to have to pick between, you know, something that was going to help your combat potential and something that was going to help your skill, you know, your flavor or your skill. Skill feats do similar thing in Pathfinder 2, where, you know, people in theory they're not competing against your class feats.
You want to know the irony of that skill feats and those buckets being separately? Do you know the first design where that happened in Pathfinder 1st edition, where things got explicitly set out and you got utility versus infusions, which were the combat ones?
I mean, Alchemist?
No, because Alchemist discoveries could be used either way. It was one of the classes though. One of the classes got utility talents versus infusions. Infusions were the combat-y, like a direct attack based ones, and the utility ones did some kind of utility thing.
Infusions? Why can't I?
And they were split. Now there was an infusion discovery for alchemists.
Okay.
So that's probably what you're getting confused by.
Interesting. I don't know.
It was the Kineticist class.
Was
the
Kineticist
1st edition where they got explicitly split out.
All right.
And that was because of the fact that in my playtest for it wasn't, and people were like, well, you know, I felt like I spent all my things on blast shapes and things like that, and I wanted to split it out. So in the final, it got split. Then we used that same thing for Vigilante and several other classes, and it made its way into the Pathfinder 2 design overall from the Pathfinder 1 Kineticist.
Interesting. No,
But you were about to say that it didn't have that, or
no? I was gonna say I think that that is inspired design, because I think that making players choose between what's effective and what's cool is a losing proposition. And I mean, ideally, you know, you could say, oh, well, they'll just pick both. But like the fact of the matter is, there are elements of these games that, you know, require you to be a certain level of proficiency, good at your combat or whatever it is that your role is in terms of getting stuff done, versus having things that add a lot of fun and dimensionality to your character. And it's shitty to make people have to pick between them. And you know, while I think overall Pathfinder 1 or Pathfinder 2 does a good job of that, by splitting the skill feats out from the class feats. I look at the design of the Kineticist and I worry, similar to what you said, Mark, like there are, blast shapes and things like that like help you do more blasting damage. But then, here's a cool air thing that lets me like, basically cast Whispering Wind or like Message, right? Because I can hear people on the wind and their words carry, that's cool. That's cool. Am I going to give up a class feat to be able to do that? Probably not. So it's kind of tough. Anyways.
All right.
We're talking about tonight.
We could talk about tonight. Look at this. You could just, if we keep going long enough, you're just going to go right into your show and then right into Mark's show. Just have one big show.
It just checks out. I got 3 hours to get everything I need to get done today done.
I
and
know.
Then I can go live again.
I have to go too. Because how come whenever we're like, it'll be a short show because Derik has to leave, and short show became Derik left and then came back.
I actually was able to come back. I listened. I had the headphones were going. I was like, they're still going. I thought maybe you guys were just on the call talking business, and I came back. I said, no, they're still live.
I don't know. We're still live.
I'm a bad influence on you. Did you know that last month, July, I had 4 live streams that went longer than 4 hours.
I believe
that's insane.
Well, I have the stop streaming button highlighted. So everyone check out Kickstarter at rollforcombat.com, or if you want to amaze your friends or enemies, you could type in your name, like Steve.Kickstarter. Sorry, Steve.rollforcombat.com or Derik.rollforcombat or
your first name, last name. That'll amaze them
anything,
more.
anything, and it will not anything.
Derik Melinda, all one word. Rollforcombat.com will take you to the Kickstarter.
It will bring you to the Kickstarter, and I promise you, we are going to give you cool stuff, and you'll get to help us build this cool stuff. So, otherwise, check out Mark, check out Derik, and and Derik, you need to have me on the show on Thursday. I want to do that. I'm not doing anything.
I'll send you a message on the Discord.
Okay, now I got to read up on the 10th level spells, not 10th level rituals, right? Just spells.
Nope, just the spells. The spells.
Someone mentioned Dinosaur Fort.
Just the spells.
Dinosaur Fort is not a spell. It's a ritual. So
no, it's a fort.
No, it's a spell.
It's a spell.
It's a spell. I thought it was a ritual.
Actually, not a ritual.
Oh, okay.
It's a spell that I wrote like on Christmas Day while working through it.
I thought it was a ritual.
Put on the Paizo forums because there had been a change one letter in any spell to make a new spell, and everyone's favorite was Dinosaur Form to Dinosaur Fort.
Right.
So I just wrote it. And then we almost put it in the core rulebook, but we desperately couldn't fit it.
It doesn't take like an hour to cast, though. It's like...
It takes a long time.
Yeah, that's why I thought it was a ritual.
It's a lengthy spell, but so is Resplendent Mansion.
Yeah,
right. I mean, to be clear, like 4 of the spells are basically the occult, divine, and primal versions of Wish. So, but for the most part...
Primal Phenomenon.
All right.
Alter Reality and Miracle.
And then we'll do the 11th level spells. What? 11th level?
The 11th level spell is the spell that Steven uses to get 50 extra backgrounds.
Right. Yes, that's going to be Thursday. This Thursday, August 11th. We are doing sort of a big Knights of Last Call celebration. I'm going to have some knights on. I'm going to have some patrons on. We've had a couple guests the last couple of times, but now we're going to invite, maybe 5 or 6 or people on, 7 people on, and sort of have a sort of a grand discussion about not just 10th level magic, but also spells in general from Pathfinder 2. What do we like about them? What do we dislike about them? What tradition? We all agree Arcane's the best tradition, but what is number 2? Is it primal?
We're all agree. Okay.
Oh, it's so good.
Arcane is obviously the strongest tradition, and based on the methodology Derik is using, occult will come in second.
I think
and nothing else has a chance. But I think that primal definitely has a strong argument to be made that it's the second strongest tradition. But if you don't look at it holistically of what it offers, and you just say, I will look at how many spells it has and then average the rating of each spell to see which ones are strong, you will get a cult above primal. There's no way you won't.
Two words for you, Mark. Magic missile. Okay, buddy? Magic missile.
Yeah.
Have you played Pathfinder 2? That spell kind of breaks it. That spell kind of breaks it.
Does not break it.
I played Pathfinder 2. I've designed Magic Missile, Derik. I wrote the spell.
It doesn't break it. That does not break it. It's telekinetic projectile. That breaks it. Bye.